Mic check, mic check. What's happening? It's not playing my audio. For some reason, it's not playing. Technical difficulties. Yeah, my mic is good, but I was playing some music and it. What's happening? Shout out to King TL, TK. What's happening, partner? Just collecting scalps out here. I don't know if anybody saw me piece up Mr. Thorpe, who is funny. He didn't run until I pointed out that that man literally espouses the official story of 9/11. I mean, think about that. Think about being out here with a with a peach colored pastel shirt in 2023, espousing the official government story of 9/11, the terrorist attacks of September the 11th of 2001. And then what's EBT talking about? Moderation. I don't know what happened to EBT, but he done drank the Thorpe Kool-Aid at some point. And then last I remember, he was whining and crying about getting banned over there or something. Said he was their first moderator and they took away his moderator privileges and all this. Anybody remember that? Not that I care, but I do find it interesting. Yeah. Yeah, 9/11. Well, because I've listened to him just enough to know that he literally espouses he says that the 9/11 it happened the way the government says it happened. And that was what was funny is he was doing okay up until the point that, we had to go into conspiracies. Because why would the man come into a subsection of the internet that revolves around conspiracy theories and, chalk by the outline being, post-conspiracy, and then, on a regular basis, I got people bringing up, my podcast, Nightmare Dystopia. Um, just getting people to go to a website is a fucking miracle. Uh, and I was always happy that people were actually willing to listen to me talk at length. And then I never got the impression, by the way, EBT saying that Ben does solo live streams. I wasn't aware of that because I've never been to his channel, but uh, I do find it strange that I just don't see that he's doing hours and hours of just him talking. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on over there. Yeah, well, that's the thing is, and shout out to Name, dude. I did an actual podcast while I was living in an apartment with my fine ass ex-wife number two, by the way, and did a podcast that she listened to, talking all about more or less all kind of uh, you know, pickup artist material, dating and relationships. I probably actually invented like 25% of this MGTOW stuff. Like, I'm not even kidding. I used to be on all kind of forums writing about that stuff, like just all kind of fucking in-depth message board posts. Um, dude, I can talk about that shit all day. Like that's like breathing, man. I know that shit backwards and forwards. I read every bit of written material that I could find back in like 2010 about that stuff. Yeah, I don't know about the getting timed out in chat. Well, and that's where I caught him slipping is because I was speaking on things that are true and correct. And see, you saw that I caught him. Did you see that I caught him in the moment when he tried to take what I was saying when I'm speaking on reality and he tried to ascribe it to me coming up with that idea out of the fucking ether and then try to make it appear ridiculous in order to discredit me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm just speaking on reality. But the problem for Ben is he's used to dealing with people that just let him get away with these kind of tactics, and they don't just immediately fucking notice it and be like, "No, man, that's some fucking bullshit." Which, by the way, no, and I think this shit's ridiculous personally. This idea of subjugating women, but I'm pointing out that The fact is, it's really all they understand, and it's what they respond to. That's has nothing to do with me, by the way, that women respond to, strong male leadership. That has literally nothing to do with me. I didn't create that dynamic. I'm noticing something and commenting on it, but pointing out that I and I s they were saying the flaw in his idea, he wanted to do some kinda show with some having a man, like, try to correct these women. I said, "Yeah, that's a great idea, but it has to be a butch lesbian." And then you literally have teenage girls on testosterone. I was reading an article about it now. By the way, they say like 25% of these young girls that are going trans are, they have, autism and, like, autism-like symptoms. I don't know if y'all have noticed that. Yeah, moderation equals control. Exactly, yeah. Yeah, let's all come on here and say whatever we want. But then Benton, we gotta moderate you. Meanwhile, who did a live stream last night while he was driving through San Antonio and all kind of confusing ass turns and exits, didn't know where to go, and I got EBT on here, uh, uh, dropping fucking bad words, YouTube considers bad words, but then talking about moderating me. I mean, he can click and disconnect me, and I could have clicked and disconnected him, but, I let him say whatever he wanted to say to an actual black person. Had black lady on the screen on my stream, and he's and EBT saying all kind of offensive things. But then somehow, Ben Thorpe is sacrosanct, right? And I pointed out when he wanted to start asking me a bunch of personal questions, I said, "Man, if I could actually bring myself to care enough about you, I might ask you certain questions, but why would I care?" Right? I mean, if my dad was willing to do live streams, we could go and get my big ass, my big goofy dad on some fucking live streams. Of course, he's got the good sense to stay off the internet. Exactly. See, this is where we're at in society, and see, this is what I'm talking about. But see, I don't think it's like a cause celeb, a celebre or whatever. I don't think this is. See, I don't see any of these problems as like, oh, this is something I need to go out there and fix. But yeah, the butch lesbians need to raise the next generation of boys. They're our only hope. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, look, that's fine. I mean, the fact is I've had 0 problem, having a woman in my life until about, let's see, however many years ago, I started noticing changes in society. See, I haven't changed any. The fact is when I was a teenager in Arkansas, these girls wanted a boyfriend, and we know what I wanted because 'cause I'm a male, with, normal hormone levels. Well, actually, but that's not even the point. I'm a red-blooded American male, so we know what I wanted. Uh, but see, back then, the women wanted a boyfriend or a husband. But then I am from a time warp in Arkansas. See, I'm not from fucking California. Yeah, I don't know where Ben's from, but, I didn't grow up and we always said, when I was a kid that we were 10 years behind California. It's really more like 20. Um, so maybe his experience was that, he missed this era of, it was more or less just expected that the man was the boss, the man was in charge. But to me, that's kind of neither here nor there. It's just I'm recognizing that that shit's over with. Like I used to wait tables, and ex-wife number two waited tables across the street at the Olive Garden, and sometimes she would finish early, and she would come over to my restaurant, and she would literally hand me her cash tips for the day, and just that triggered people. An idea of a man controlling a woman's money, but nobody has a problem if a woman controls a man's money. See, you can just take it all and invert it and reverse it. And when women do it to us, it's all just completely fine. But if we want to just be like, no, I'm in charge, like I run my shit, everybody freaks the fuck out. But if a woman's like, oh yeah, of course, I handle the family finances. I'm the decision maker in the home. Everybody's like, "Yeah, that's great, wonderful." It's celebrated. It's the ultimate point I was making was that we're no longer allowed to behave that way. Well, surprise, surprise, here I am by myself. Now, the fact is, uh, I'm in a fucking big rig. There's no number 1, there's not really room for a woman. Number 2, why would I wanna deal with that? And what did I say the other day? I said, "There's not a woman in the realm," I almost said on the planet, "There's not a woman in the realm who can understand that I need about a week of alone time on a regular basis." That's just not. That's just completely can't happen. Yeah. Well, and uh, the point I made was that a woman preparing a meal for her man is now viewed as her being oppressed. Is that not the reality that we live in? I mean, that I think that's where it all went off the rails is that he wanted to try to say that I was crazy and that somehow that idea originated with me when that's something I'm observing. And I think that's where name comes in and because he likes to hear me talk about this stuff. And if he knew about my podcast, it was called Upper Hand Dating. If he knew about my Upper Hand Dating podcast, then he would have loved it. And the fact is, a man is not a man if he has a woman for a boss. That's just facts. Well, somebody's always in charge. So that means if I'm not in charge, that means she's in charge. I mean, it's just reality. But I understand Ben, being used to interacting with losers over the internet, right? Meanwhile, he's on my internet as far as I'm concerned. I've been here since 94. Realistically, he's in my realm anyway. But I'm tolerant. See, I'm willing to tolerate people like Ben Thorpe coming onto my internet. That's completely fine. He's welcome, but not on that weak ass half stepping bullshit. It's half baked nonsense. And that's why that's another scalp for my wall. See, that's why we can have a wall of scalps over here, maybe. And we'll just put Ben Thorpe's scalp up here because I will clear the motherfucking room when they come on some half baked nonsense. Well, and that's another thing is they're used to see somebody like Ben is used to interacting with people that he can trigger. Most likely. Again, I don't know. I've never watched him except I wouldn't even know who this bozo is except for Chalk Body Outline, right? Um, and then I think it also comes down to the reality is men are not accepted in society anymore. Men that just speak their mind, right? We associate that with women now. Oh, she's a woman who speaks her mind, right? Well, it used to just be accepted that if you're going to be a man in society, well, of course you would speak your mind when necessary. But I've been a shit talker since day one. I mean, that's completely fine. I mean, what's the problem with that? Meanwhile, I thought we all believed in freedom, and I came into Chalk Body Outlines Discord three something years ago, and it's all about freedom and MAGA. But okay, what's freedom except let's police Benton's behavior, right? Oh yeah, you're free to do as we tell you, and that's where we get outside of this left right paradigm is, um, and it's something Mark Passio pointed out. Not that I'm any particular fan of his, but he has covered some good material. Is that the right wing, the so-called right wing, they want to take this shit over so they can run it the way they see it. They don't want to liberate anybody, and ultimately this is about liberation. You know, uh, as an individual, I have the ability to liberate myself but nobody else can do that for me. And and I've talked about movements. See, these people want to join a movement. And what's Ben Thorpe trying to do? He appears, which is fair play, he appears to be recognizing that now streaming is a big deal and that some people are able to derive a decent income from it. Now, I wish him the best of luck in making money, but the fact is he's too fucking old at this point. I mean, can we face the reality that I'm 47? I have no idea how old Ben Thorpe is. He looked old as fuck when he had that beard, but again, I don't give a fuck about Ben Thorpe. But the fact is, this is a young person's game, right? Uh, let's even if Ben Thorpe has the skill set, ain't millions of people ever going to tune in, no matter how. And he's talking about this is $1 billion idea, right? That's how he sold it. And I don't know. I'm very sensitive, and maybe we'll go back and play it. I don't know. Is it still up? Hey, let's play it, and I'll respond to it. And he had me on. I will admit, he had me on my heels a couple times. Uh, yeah. I'm not just fucking omnipotent in this shit. Yeah. I don't know why my audio's not working. It worked when I was on. When I was using what do you call uh Firefox. It worked. My audio was working. So I don't know. Let me see. Can y'all hear this music? No music, right? Hmm. How strange. Well, give me a minute. I want to get this. I want to. If EBT stream's still up, I want to play it and respond to it. Let's see. Yeah. Well, and that's see that's and I agree about what you're talking about with women being in a state of disrepair, but whose fault is that? I don't think it's I don't happen to think it's their fault. I think it's men's fault for allowing them to go there. And that's where I was going with the chaos, with the feminine energy being rooted in chaos and the masculine energy is rooted in order. That's the nature of it. Well, and then, clearly we're all a mixture of both. Uh, well, what do you mean by trap me? Like what would I do to get trapped, I guess is the question. Because this is where I am a little paranoid, mainly from my time on the streets. Like very careful about how I conducted my affairs in certain ways, living in the streets. Now I'm having technology fail. My apologies. So yeah, I would like to know a little bit about that. But that's the thing is, who cares? I don't, and I'm not saying that you're doing anything wrong, but it's like, who cares that he's a Fed? But yeah, what happened? I am kind of curious what happened with the. I know my mic's good. Thank you, King TL. I'm trying to play some audio though. It's not playing for some reason, but I'll figure it out. I may drop off for a second, but I'll be right back. No, see, uh, name says it's a chicken and egg conundrum. Are women responsible and accountable for their own behavior and choices, or are men responsible and accountable for women's choices? What I'm talking about is I don't think women are responsible because in the past, I don't believe they were allowed to behave this way. And you saw that he wasn't willing to allow me to reference the recent past and acted like I was just like making things up. But now who's the conspiracy theorist, by the way? So you've got, see, and this is where I'm very observant of people's behavior, especially in the context of a debate, right? Because he literally will say that, well, of course, the terrorist attacks of September the 11th, 2001 happened like the government said they happened. But then he's apparently not willing to believe the official story of history, where not that long ago in the early 1900s and in the late 1800s, that if a woman decided to divorce her husband and leave, she's literally considered damaged goods and nobody would have anything to do with her. But meanwhile, the man just literally went to town and came home with another wife. Like that was a real thing. That's how it's perpetrated. Now, whether or not things were actually that way is debatable. I wasn't there, but that is the official fiction, right? Just like the official fiction is that the terrorist attacks happened the way the government claims. So he's trying to be conspiracy theory with respect to the way society was structured in the recent past, but then wants to disavow the fact that we know that's impossible. Like it's such old material by now. Like, dude, we've been over it. Like I was literally having message board debates about building 7 on offtopic.com in like '08, even before actually. Yeah. I wasn't into conspiracies, by the way, at all. I found I used to search out all kind of downloadable files like documentaries, and I just happened to cross one like probably on one of those file sharing services, and it was entitled How to Overcome People's Psychological Resistance to 9/11 Truth. Well, I'd never heard of the concept of 9/11 truth. So this got my attention because I'm interested in psychology. And that's actually how I began to learn about, all of these different documentaries exposing the truth of 9/11 or whatever. And then pretty soon it's, I'm listening to Alex Jones every day for years. And, I'm watching Jason Burmis's Fabled Enemies documentary. And Loose Change to me I didn't even think that was even any good, really. Um, Fabled Enemies, that's the one I like. And I'm listening to Luke Radowski, that fucking bozo, who's basically just a normie now. Have y'all heard him talk recently? He's just more or less just a run of the mill normie, and that does show you that the normie is now a baby truther, and that all this truth material has just been absorbed directly into the mainstream. Oh yeah, exactly. Like but exactly, you're right. He was having fun until he can get you. Oh, you mean as far as trying to sick the feds on me? Is that what you mean? Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, yeah, I can't be controlled. Uh, yeah, as a human being, we all have different characteristics. And by the way, when you would talk about fear, and this is why I almost drank myself to death because of the events of the last few years, is because my greatest fear is to be controlled. And what did I see? Now society's literally going to control me at the level of my own face, right? And honestly, I would rather just not even be here, but I have a strong will to live. So pretty soon here I am. Look, I damn near drank myself to death. Okay. Um, that's real. Like that really happened, but I'm still here for a reason. Um, well, and I don't see I don't mean blame men as far as like it's an individual man's fault, and the fact is, it seems like Drew, is doing his version of subjugating his woman, right? But then that takes on a negative connotation. Well, but we talk about America as a Christian nation, right? Oh, America's a Christian nation. Well, it's not, I don't believe. But let's say that it was. You can't have Christianity without you also have to subjugate women. That's the only way the religion works, according to the religion itself. And again, all religion is man-made. I'm not preaching the Bible. I am a preacher, but I don't have no control over that. That's just how God made me. If you believe in God, by the way, I don't even care what you believe. But I believe that I was created by, the Most High, and I believe the Most High created me. And as a preacher, that's what I am. It comes naturally to me. Um, but you're not going to see now we're in a world, and I think I talked about this on a recent live stream. We're in a world where, somebody Grace Thorpe's age might call herself a Christian, and I don't know enough about her to know if she does or not, but she will these young broads will talk about Jesus and Christianity and Trump and MAGA and right wing, but at the same time, they don't believe in being subservient to their husbands. They're not subjugated. So they're not even really practicing their religion if you look at it. If you look at it that way. Subjugate definition. Bring under domination or control, especially by conquest. I mean, that's the entire plight of the female, as far as I can tell. That describes how women have been. That's a woman's role under Christianity is to be brought under domination and control, especially by Congress. That's what that means. I mean, am I just way off base here? See, when I grew up, it was just taken for granted. And literally, man, I outranked my mom in our household by the time I was 12. Literally, solely based on what was between my legs. I literally outranked my mom in the household because that is the natural order according to Christianity is God, man, woman. And they say, well, you were a child, but yeah, at 12, I mean, in the olden days, that was more or less the age of majority, wasn't it? And then, but see, back to my ultimate point, women respond to this. It's not me saying, oh, go out there and be kinky. And then it's some people like a dominant sub, it's dominant versus submissive. But here's where the commies, here's where the commies defeat the MAGA bozos is because these weirdos have no problem subjugating somebody, but they call it kink, right? And it's in a specific format, and then it's completely fine. But a grown ass man marrying a woman and his wife is subject to him, she is subject to his rulership and leadership. That's not allowed. See, I'm not even saying it should be that way. I'm not saying go out here and subjugate the women. I'm not advocating for any of this. I'm observing it and I'm putting it in the proper historical context. But then I'm being accused by someone who literally says that 9/11 happened the way the government did, meaning the official fiction. But then I reference the official fiction of the recent past, and he just acts like he doesn't know what I'm talking about, or try. And this is where I caught him slipping. He tried to pretend like that was some idea I just invented, and then he's ascribing it to me in an attempt to ridicule me. But see, I noticed this shit like breathing. By the way, this is how a woman tests a man, is by these little mechanisms. And if he's not sharp enough to notice it in the moment, and it carries the day, before you know it, she wears the pants. It's a never-ending struggle for dominance. But now you have a society in which men are basically they're indoctrinated and taught that, you know, anytime a male assumes a traditional male role and the woman assumes a traditional female role, that the man is oppressing the woman, unless it's these weirdo, deviant um, freaks from San Francisco who run Silicon Valley. They call it kink and BDSM and sub dom, and just invent a bunch of names for it, and it's completely fine. In fact, it's so fine that that MAGA, when they talk about it, they'll just say, "Oh, well, not that there's anything wrong with that, because we don't want to judge those people's lifestyles, right?" Well, I'll judge it. I'll judge it. It's fucked up and repugnant and disgusting. But see, that's how they feel about. See, that's how freaks feel about a man, a father born a man, right, and a woman, uh, a mother born a woman, just raising their baby. Which, by the way, I've said, what more powerful symbol is there of God's creation than that? A man and a woman coming together and having a baby. See, those weirdos, those weirdo deviant freaks, they hate that shit. And then they project their hatred onto us. And we, for some reason, as a society, we internalize it and we start acting like there's something wrong with us. But my dad, coming from a different generation and born in a time warp, and he grew up in the actual 50s. Dude, my mom couldn't have been, she had to submit to my dad and cook and clean and take care of the family, or she was not accepted in society. It wasn't up to her. And this is what I'm talking about with women just being allowed to run amok. Now, if society had told her, "You go, girl, and that's awesome that you want to go get a degree and that you don't need a man," and all of this, well, she might have behaved very, very differently. And then, in which case, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now, by the way. But then, if I'm dumb enough to put myself into a verbal battle with some left wing bozo like Ben Thorpe, and he is a left wing bozo, like with some left wing bozo LARPing as a so called truther, LARPing as if he somehow, and this is what I know just from watching Chalk Body Outline and listening to EBT talk about these people. Right. Uh, like, what kind of insane person would I have to be to just accept all of that? But let's face the fact that the masses just more or less accept, whatever, whatever's foisted upon them. But the thing about, if is he a Fed and somebody got in trouble with the cops? Look, I mean, the fact is they can come for me anytime they want to. And that's not paranoia. That's called the Patriot Act. The fact is the government can come put a hood over my head anytime they want to and fly me out to Guantanamo. And I don't believe that has anything to do with my specific actions in the real world. See, but I can tell you this, I'm not dumb enough to commit crimes, especially via the internet. Right. I have no criminal record. I've never been in the mental health system. I can pass a background check. I'm in a federal database for drug testing. I've got a commercial driver's license. Uh, I'm literally on a fucking government clock right now. It's in the front of the rig. And the fact is, as far as I can tell, as long as I'm willing to serve this nightmare dystopian beast system, hauling these loads, right? As long as I'm willing to do that and not break the law and be a good corporate slave. Shout out to Paul and Slave, by the way. Shout out to his panels and everything. As long as I'm willing to exist in that system, it doesn't seem like I'm going to be persecuted. See, because the fact is, I'm doing what the beast system wants me to do, and he's right. Look, Ben Thorpe is right on a level. I'm not in a home in a nuclear family um, with a wife and kids, and Drew is. I don't know if Ben is. I really don't know. If that's, if that mind control victim is his spouse and Grace is his daughter, then yeah, he is ahead of me in that way, right? Um, but I think where he's not understanding is that I'm not wired for that in the first place. It's not part of my path. And I've never believed this nonsense, this be fruitful and multiply. But then at the same time, we're going to talk about conspiracy theories and population control. But because some people wrote a book, called the Bible, that I'm somehow obligated to go out here and knock up some broads, right? Like I just don't believe that. The Bible says, and again, it's not a Bible conversation. It's not a Bible channel. But the Bible says every man hath not the same office. That's not my function, right? And again, how many years of my life do I need to devote to getting pussy, by the way? I'm 47 motherfucking years old, man. And I think this also ties in with um, that society is way unbalanced towards prizing youth. Youth is prized and worshipped above everything, right? So when I talked to this lady on my live stream last night, she's 60. Well, she asked me what my age is, and I'm 47, and she's wanting to imply that I'm young. Well, I don't fall for that. I say, well, and I meant to make it 13 years older than her, but I said, we could get a 77-year-old on here. Does that make you young? Like, it's not a transitive property, right? My parents used to try to pull that shit on me. Oh, well, you're still young. Meanwhile, I'm 40 fucking 7. I said, no. I said, listen, you're 67. If I get an 87-year-old out here, are you now young by extension? And then they finally had to agree. Yeah, you're right. I said, no, 47 is old. The fact is, when that first number changes from a 2 to a 3, the person is no longer young. Now, maybe they can pass for 25. When I was 30, I looked more like I was about 22. Okay. But the fact is, anybody who comes across as 30, that they're old. See, it's fucking over with. And this was something I was talking about on a recent stream. Dude, it's fucking over with for Ben Thorpe. He's too fucking old, man. Ben, you're too fucking old. And he'll just say, oh, he wants to say, well, yeah, you are too. Yeah, I know, but I've accepted that. See, I've accepted that I'm too old. The ship has motherfucking sailed, man. So I'm 47. I started getting puss at the age of 15. Again, it wasn't that I did anything other than what I normally did. See, it was more or less their idea, right? And then these normies don't know anything about anything. See, these normies don't know anything about anything. I'm from the South, man. Every gay guy I've ever known my entire life has a kid. Every single one of them. Dude, somebody can like men and still get women. Like that's not mutually exclusive. In fact, if you study psychology and you read these things like I have, it turns out that uh, guys that engage in certain risk-taking behavior, they do better with women. That's fucking been studied in psychology, right? Risky sexual behavior, that they actually have more female partners. Okay, now that we can say, oh, that's the Jays coming up, and that's the Kinsey Institute, and that's Jays and this and that. Yeah, that's fine. But again, the official fiction, Ben. See, I've read the entirety of the motherfucking official fiction for the most part. I've read it and put it in my brain, and it's still in there. So he can call me whatever he wants to call me. I'm too fucking sharp, man. Again, we collecting scalps out here. We collecting scalps. We're gonna put them on the wall. And I could have done that shit all fucking day long. Yeah, well, that's the whole point. That's what's promoted is it's all nonsense and garbage, but it's framed as the woman has the power and control. Exactly, because that's the inversion. That's the inversion. Because a man is not a man if he's dominated by a female. He's bowing down to something lesser than himself. And we're better than them in the way that we're better. There's a reason why there will never be a female world chess champion. They cannot produce enough testosterone. No human being born a woman will ever be able to defeat the entirety of men in chess. It's not possible because they literally can't produce enough chemicals. Okay. So with the inversion of the natural order, well, of course, women are emboldened and empowered to run a man. See, but and this was where we started in the so-called conversation. But by the way, how can I have a conversation with somebody who's literally going to explain to me how to have a conversation? See, I immediately can notice a pattern where, oh, he's interacting with people of such a low level of development and attainment that they're actually going to let him explain to them how a conversation works. Meanwhile, I'm literally the best listener on all of this. I can just listen and listen and listen and listen. It's not a problem. But when the first words out of somebody's mouth is, here's some advice, why would I entertain that? Well, motherfucker, since you're a lefty, by the way, I learned from the lefties, uh, unasked for advice is aggression, sir. You're coming at me with aggression here. I didn't ask for this advice. You gonna tell me what I should do? You got some experience being me, partner? Well, you don't know nothing about this. And then the fact is, yeah, I have had my father and I's relationship has been difficult. And through working at it, both of us, by the way, we have a good relationship. And the same thing with my mom, because I, as a human being, recognize that it's important to have a good relationship with my parents. Now part of that is that my parents weren't alcoholics. They weren't drug addicts. Now they did raise me in a motherfucking mind control cult, but by God, my dad, who was a workaholic, that was his strategy for avoiding the family unit, was to just work all day unnecessarily. He was the boss. He owned his own business. I knew what he was doing. By the time I was 10 years old, I said, "Well, this motherfucker, he's workaholic, so he ain't got to be around us." But he was home every night in bed with my mama, wasn't running around, and but they still got divorced. See, that's the point I'm making. Nobody's together anymore. Go to the local Christian church and insinuate yourself into the church over time and get to know those people, and then just keep a tally on everybody's blended families, everybody's divorces. Okay. Dude, it's way more common than not. My folks, yeah, they waited till we all they waited till my youngest sister was gone to college and then they divorced. Right. But nobody fucking stays together effectively. Now I think EBT has a good shot. Shout out to EBT. I saw him in the chat. He's got a shot at it. I think Drew probably has a shot at it, but Drew's already divorced, right? I mean, how many people get married and stay married? I mean, that was basically that seemed to be more or less Thorpe's assertion. Was marriage and then stay married uh for the whole lifetime. That's effectively does not exist. Yeah, there are some exceptions, but it's way more uncommon than common. Way more. It's not even close. Now, if you want to look at people who actually live that way, I'll point you to the Amish. That's your conservatives, by the way. Your conservatives. Yeah, good. See, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, there's always exceptions, EBT. And have I not recognized your superiority? You are superior to me in this way. Have I not? I've recognized that. I have no problem acknowledging when someone else is able to do something that I was not able to do. Now, here's the thing is, if I had married wife number one, ex-wife number one, and if I had impregnated her and she'd had my child, that would have told the tale. Would I have been able to stay with her? Because now that kid would be old enough that we would probably just now be getting divorced, most likely. And I would hate my fucking life. And every day of my life, I would have wanted to, do something that I can't say on YouTube, right? But when that kid never pops out, who cares? At that point, it's just like breaking up with a girlfriend. Let's be honest. Yeah, there's a government marriage contract, but since I never knocked her up, we just break up. We didn't own anything. We had a mortgage. I didn't give a fuck about the house. You just move on and find somebody else. Which is, by the way, I had absolutely no problem finding somebody else. Again, they find me more than I find them. But yeah, the fact is, the way things are in 2023, uh, dude, I'm not texting these bitches. And no offense, I'm not trying to woman bash. I'm not trying to be offensive towards women. Dude, I have zero interest in sending a woman a text message. I have zero. My dad met his new girlfriend on fucking Facebook, man. Dude, if I'm triggered by anything, I'm triggered by that. And again, started having relations with ladies in when I was 15. And I'm 47. Why does my life have to revolve around getting laid? Because that's all it was to me. I'll be honest with you guys. That's all it ever was to me. Now, I enjoyed the companionship. I enjoyed having I enjoyed being in those relationships. but we were up each other's ass 24 hours a day. The fact is, I've never met a woman who is capable of understanding that I'm going to have to go off and be by myself for 7 years. Meanwhile, 7 years, 7 straight days. Meanwhile, when I was with ex-wife number one, I actually thought I was an extrovert. I didn't even know that I'm a hermit, right? Do you think a hermit who enjoys living in a big rig wants another person in here? This is a tiny fucking space, man. Like, what kind of man says, you know what would make this? I'm in here doing whatever the fuck I want. I'm getting paid $1,100 a week or more, hitting in fiat. I have almost no bills. I can basically, other than having to drive my free apartment 8 hours a day, I can pretty much do whatever the fuck I want. You know what would make this better? Let's get a nagging ass broad in here. I mean, do you see the fucking insanity, man? Meanwhile, I make my own coffee. What kind of broad is gonna manually grind 40 grams of coffee beans at a time, by the way? And go back to the 60s. The TV commercials in the 60s and 70s were literally about um, the mother-in-law's coming for dinner, and the wife is all nervous and beside herself because the mother-in-law is going to come in there and put the white glove on and find some fucking dust in the house, right? And then the whole TV commercials about they go over to somebody, the man and the woman go to somebody else's house, and the guy gets a second cup of coffee after dinner or whatever, and the woman's all offended, like, well, shit, he never asked for another cup of my coffee, but she's like, now she's got anxiety because her man might leave her. Well, what's that anxiety based on? The anxiety is based on that in the past, if he just said, I've had enough of your bullshit, woman, and he kicks her the fuck out, he can just go get another wife, but now she's damaged goods. It used to be that way, according to the official fiction. That was where me and Thorpe were never going to be able to move forward because he was failing to acknowledge that. And that's called a lack of intellectual integrity. So now I'm like, does he just not understand this? Is he willfully denying it? What he did was he tried to be clever and tried to act as if I'm inventing this out of whole cloth, and then attempted to ridicule me on that basis. Again, I understand that there's a lot of people dumb enough to let him do that. The fact that I'm not one of those people has nothing to do. I mean, that has nothing to do with it. Um, that's their problem, that they're dumb enough to let him get away with weak ass tactics. It's weak. Get that weak shit out of here. Get that half baked nonsense out of here. I'm not supposed to entertain half baked nonsense. Now, maybe he's a Fed and maybe they're going to come put a fucking hood over my head and fly me off to Guantanamo. Well, so what? That could have happened anyway. I don't think that has anything to do with my behavior. Oh, fuck him, by the way. Fuck him. Yeah. Oh, yeah. My dad's recent ex-wife. Well, I don't think they're divorced yet, but my dad's recent wife was my dad gets his ideas in his head where he thinks, oh, well, it hasn't worked out. He had he was probably dating women or something. And he thinks, oh, well, it'll work out if I go find me a Jehovah's Witness woman. Well, now that at the end of their relationship, now that it's over, he's more or less just like, oh my God, Jehovah's Witness women are the worst thing ever, right? So now he's going to idealize this next partner. So he's going into this like, okay, well, it'll work because she's not a Jehovah's Witness. Like, this is literally how the guy thinks, right? But then, see, I already know. See, I know what he's going to do before he knows what he's going to do. Like, he's all acting like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be, I'm just going to live by myself and I'm a Sigma male and I'm a fucking introvert and all this. Because, that's what the internet's telling. Meanwhile, none of it's true. This guy was fucking class president when he was in high school, for God's sake. Talking about, and defensive captain of the football team talking about I'm a Sigma male. It's like, motherfucker, you are an alpha male. What are you talking about? That doesn't even make sense. But because I'm doing my part to have a good relationship with my dad, I don't talk to him like that. I very patiently hint around, and then eventually he comes to it and pretends like it's his idea. See? Yeah, it's called the fact that I love my parents, and in spite of their insanity, literal motherfucking cult members, by the way, that I had the humility, instead of holding all that against them, I was able to give it up to God and let all that shit go. They literally fucking did horrible shit to me in the context of a religion and a cult. I was able to just let that go. And I have a good relationship with my mother and my father. Now, if y'all think I'm the kind of person that would come on here and lie about that, I mean, that's not my problem. Now, I guess in Ben Thorpe's world, that's just, and again, I don't know where he's from, but I guess that's just standard operating procedure. People just lie and mislead and just make stuff up. But that has nothing to do with me. Marriage is a spiritual union. Yeah, see, I never approached it that way. I'll just be honest with you. I just wanted to get laid, but I always liked having a girlfriend or a wife. I wasn't really into just going out and banging a bunch of broads. I never, just never appealed to me. And my dad, dude, women just come up to him in pub. I'm not even kidding. They just come right up to him and start talking to him everywhere he goes. He's never been into just banging a bunch of broads either. It's just not. We're just not set up for that for whatever reason. Marriage is a spiritual union, not a legal document. You lose the ability to pair bond the more sexual partners you. There you go. See, because I haven't really been with that many women. I haven't, especially not compared to nowadays. But I've been to a lot compared to my. I've been with a lot compared to my dad. See, he thinks I've probably been with around 20. To him, that's a lot. But meanwhile, because nobody can stay together anymore, you know, speaking generally, we'll look at now. He's how many women is he going to be with? But he's going to be with most of them, and is literally as a senior citizen. I mean, just dude, a 67-year-old dating. I mean, think about that. I don't want nothing to do. I'm 47. Well, I'm gonna go out here and find a 47-year-old, or even worse. And this is probably what Ben Thorpe would do. Oh, just go date a 25-year-old. Are you out of your fucking mind? I'm on the internet talking about ideas and conspiracies. What am I going to talk to? What am I going to talk about with a 25-year-old? I mean, this is insane, man. This is literally fucking insane. Yeah, exactly. Sigma male, oh brother. But I just reject this notion that I'm somehow obligated or indebted to go live a specific kind of life. The problem for me is when they told me I was free, and they pushed all these ideas of nonconformity and go your own way. And I don't mean men going their own way. I just mean like go out into the world and it's a blank canvas and you can live however you want. See, I actually internalized all that. What I didn't realize is that most people are set up for, well, actually you need to behave like the rest of us. It's just we just call it freedom. Well, you're free to do what we want you to do in order to be accepted. Librarians, I like librarians. Yeah, I like librarians. But I don't know. Are there 25-year-old librarians? See, that's the thing. Or 35? I think 35. See, I wouldn't personally want anything to do with a woman that's within 15. I need like 15-year window till menopause kicks in. But again, all I see is problems, man. And dude, EBT, I can't speak for EBT, but you know, um, I don't know how easy his daily life is, right? Is that a rewarding experience on a daily basis? I don't know. I don't look down on him. I think it's great. Um, and then like what we were talking about with that lady, was it Sly Shy or something? I very cleverly, by the way, I very astutely mentioned that, well, EBT, he did not vaccinate his children, which was a big fucking deal. And EBT at a certain point, he pointed out, is like, look, now there's this illness, and all these people are talking about, you know, not wanting to give their kids the shots. But I think it's for, and I don't want to speak for him, but it's my interpretation of what EBT's angle was this is a bunch of Johnny come latelys. Like I'm the OG, EBT's like, I'm the OG of this deal here. He did it when it was difficult, right? Yeah, Tranquil Vortex says 28 years together tomorrow. We didn't marry. Maybe that's the key. I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah. I mean, again, does anybody think that I'm not genuine when I tell EBT that I give him props, and Drew too, by the way, because Drew seems to have got. And look, I don't want to gossip about Drew. I'm just saying appears to have his shit together. Um, Good. I think it's great. But why do I need to participate? I guess that's where I'm very sensitive to some idea that oh, just my life is my life is somehow discredited because I'm not living some specific kind of way. Meanwhile, like I literally am dying of a fucking chronic illness. Do you think I'm really that worried about how I'm viewed over the internet by somebody like Ben Thorpe? Meanwhile, dude, I think I was right on the money when he's trying to denigrate me based on the fact that I'm talking to people over the internet. I'm like, well, you're right here with us. Like, what is this? Like, we're all right here together, man. I mean, I don't understand how you can call me out on this, but you're right here calling me out. Like, it doesn't even make sense, man. He's not a real motherfucker, man. EBT's a real motherfucker. Drew's a real motherfucker. Ben Thorpe's a fake motherfucker. That's why I don't have to. Thank God, by the way, because EBT's far too smart. But see, I don't have to battle EBT and try to put his scalp on the wall. I don't have to. I don't have to put Drew's scalp on the wall because they're real motherfuckers. When you come with that fake ass bullshit, I'm gonna clear the motherfucking room every time. That's my job. That's my office. That's my job. And see, that's where I got over on Yurt's panels. I said, man, we're not supposed to tolerate this nonsense. We're gonna be in here talking about books, and I know I am the smartest person that sounds the dumbest, but um, and I certainly can tell that my speech has been affected. So I can, and especially people from California, if Ben Thorpe's from California, dude, they hear me talk and they just assume I'm a fucking moron. Any West Coaster, man. I've been all over the West Coast. Just my accent, dude, I can't know anything about anything as far as they're concerned. So I can be speaking the smartest fucking words, man. The fact is, dude, I can sit down and write a university grade A paper off the top of my motherfucking head. I can just sit down and write a paper and turn it in and it'll get an A. That's no fucking problem, man. But look, I know what I fucking sound like. But isn't it incumbent upon Thorpe to be able to understand, oh, wait a minute, he is saying things that make sense. Oh, I'm telling him to calm down, but he's really not triggered. Meanwhile, I'm always triggered. Always got a little bit of something to me, right? Always got some energy to me. Again, never wrestle a pig. You both get muddy and the pig likes it. But, I don't care that he's, exhibiting feminine traits. On EBT's live stream. That's his business. Why would I need to go and attack him based on him coming across some kind of way? See, that's not my job to straighten him out on his own proclivities. It's really none of my business. But by the way, very helpfully pointed out that his idea and EBT's immediately like, well, that shit ain't going to work. Well, what did I do? I wasn't even on the broadcast. I had dropped off the broadcast. I was letting them have their thing. Then I come on and see, that's why I should play this back and we should just break down the game tape. Then I come on and very helpfully point out that, hey, man, because EBT said that's never going to work. Well, my brain formed, oh, it will work. You just got to do it with a butch lesbian. So then I actually very helpfully came back on and just to let him know, hey, man, this would work, but with a butch lesbian. And then I gave the example of when I was a lad and I would walk into the Walmart or the store, I literally would have my hand around my woman's neck. Now, I don't know why I did that, but I did. And here's why I bring it up is because I haven't seen that, except I did see it recently out in Arizona, but it was a butch lesbian with her lipstick lesbian girlfriend. And the butch lesbian literally has her hand on the feminine woman's neck, like I used to do with my girlfriend. See, well, but the butch lesbian is on testosterone. Something else I pointed out. I said, well, now you got the teenagers. The teenage girls are shooting them up with testosterone. This is all fucking obvious, man. And again, it's things that are playing out before me. And I always reserve the right to observe what's going on and comment on it. And if somebody thinks that the fact that I choose to live in a truck while I'm dying of motherfucking pancreatic cancer, among other things, that this is, and come on the internet and talk to people, by the way, and express my ideas while I'm driving a truck. How can that ever invalidate the validity of the message that I'm putting forward? See, to me, it's about the message. It's not about the person. It's not about the personality. But this is one of the very first things I noticed when I first started interfacing with these so-called truth communities. And I don't really mean this group here, and I'm not even saying it's a group, but the people who do regularly listen to me, this is a bit of a self-selecting group. But I noticed one of the very first things I noticed in these so-called truthers is they become enamored by people and personalities. Well, I'm not that way. That's probably why I noticed that. Whoever's saying the thing is neither here nor there. I want to hear the interesting ideas. That's what I want to hear. If the ideas aren't interesting, then I'm not interested. Meanwhile, if I can so easily fucking negate and if I can so easily bat down whatever Thorpe is saying, and I simultaneously have enough control of myself to halfway keep control of myself. Meanwhile, I don't ever want to lose my edge. I always want to be a little bit on edge. I always want to be a little cranky. How do you think I talk for 7 motherfucking hours? By being calm, cool, and collected? I don't think so. There's got to be something in there. You know, what's my fuel source for this? And see, I've done already been to sleep and woke up and didn't even sleep good. I feel like garbage, man. I feel like trash. But I'm still on here and even as much as I'm not as sharp mentally as I was, I could piece up Thorpe no problem. Just like I pieced up tinfoil. And I didn't want credit for that, but Drew, and I knew Drew was trying to stir the pot, but he said that's what he told 10. He said, well, from what little bit I saw, it looked like Benton was giving you the business there. Well, of course I was. Of course I was. Because when it comes to a chess match and a poker game and in strategy, that shit comes natural to me. It's not a fucking problem. Yeah, exactly. You're right, Tranquil Vortex. But see, now we get into this idea of ownership. See, I learned when I became introspective. Now, this is also part of why I don't have a wife or a girlfriend, although I will recognize that at a certain point, they don't want anything to do with me. I'll just be honest with you. Could I go out there and get a woman? Sure, I could. But the fact is, I was so arrogant and in love with myself that I just chose from whatever crazy broad would more or less make it known that she wanted me, right? That was ex-wife number 1. You know, I met her in a computer lab. I was all just naturally fucking again, what I studied, pick up artist material. I was just naturally cocky and funny towards her. What happened was she was on the computer, right? And I'm the computer lab operator because I'm a nerd. I was a computer nerd, but I'm also athletic and played sports and stuff. But I noticed that she was about to have a problem on her computer. And I tried to intervene and help her. And she was very snotty with me. And she was basically like, no. Right. So then 5 minutes later, she has the problem that I had already saw she was about to have. And now because I'm working as a computer lab operator, she wants to come up and ask me for help. I just refused to help her. But I wasn't mean or shitty to her. I was just like, no, I tried to help you 5 minutes ago. You was all shitty to me and just flat refused to help her. So meanwhile, now through a friend of a friend, 2 weeks later, the friend of a friend is we're all going to the movies together, and she's sitting next to me with her fucking intentionally showing me her cleavage. Right? I'm not stupid. I know what the fuck's going on. But all I did was just be myself. They say, "Oh, be yourself." Well, that obviously doesn't work for most of these guys. Meanwhile, it's just, "Oh, is it?" I never thought it was special that I just lived my life and had a woman. It's not a big deal to me. But it's not supposed to be a big deal, by the way. You know, the mere fact that it's now and look at the movies. Go back and watch Caddyshack. Every guy almost in that movie had a girlfriend. Even the guy who was considered a loser piece of garbage had a girlfriend. Back in the day, it was just more or less normal that a young man would have a girlfriend. You look at these teen movies today, even going back 10, 15 years ago, the male protagonist, and I think Heath Ledger might have been in one of these movies, the male protagonist has to jump through all kind of hoops, and then maybe she will consider dating him. Maybe, right? Well, I didn't grow up in that world. Meanwhile, I'm fucking 47, man, and dying of a combination of chronic illnesses. Oh, boo-hoo. Look, I'm not trying to stick around this motherfucker, to be honest with you. Really not. But you think I'm gonna let some bozo in a peach colored pastel shirt, some fucking Hollywood type, settle my hash? Not unless he gets this right. And good luck to you, buddy. Good luck. And that's just another scalp to pin on the wall. Well, good for me. Again, I could do that shit all day. I love it. Oh, not medical advice? Is that a person? You got boosted? I'm not sure what that means. Yeah, all these chemicals messing up the pheromones. Exactly. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the recent illness, by the way, my sense of smell doesn't even work. And meanwhile, every girlfriend or wife I ever had loved my fucking scent, dude. They all loved it. You know, I don't even know what I smell like now. Probably not good. It's probably not good. Women carry their man's scent, other men smell it. When we like how our man smells on us, we don't want to wear it. There you go. Yep. Mhm. Yep. But then why did my high school girlfriend and ex-wife number 1, why did they both buy me specific cologne when we first met? See, I noticed there was something about, even as normie as I was back then, I was like, "What? Why are they buying me cologne?" Because I don't like cologne. I don't like to wear cologne. I never have. Probably trying to cover up my natural scent so the other broads want nothing to do with me. Meanwhile, like I said, I've read all the material back in the day, and it turns out that you know, a big part of a woman's attraction to a man is his scent. Meanwhile, this is again, this is the official fiction research. This is, you know, actual studies. You can It's up to you to decide if it means anything or not. I'm just saying this is what the official fiction says, is that, you know, there's like 25% of all men, if a woman, she might like his family, she might like the way he looks, but when she gets a smell of his scent, she won't have nothing to do with him in a relationship, solely based on the pheromones. See, I've studied all that stuff. I know all of that. I don't even really think about it. You got roasted, got her 15 minutes from Drew. I don't even know who that is. Is that a person? Yeah, it definitely could be Jay. Yeah, of course it could, Name. You're absolutely right. Yes, it could be. Again, I'm referencing the official fiction, which I will always reserve the right to do, especially with someone that I heard say out of their own mouth, one Ben Thorpe, that that of course 9/11 happened the way the government said it did. That's what he says. But we know that that shit was debunked fucking 10 plus years ago. It's just like 15 actually. Like, do we even really even think about that anymore? But that's how super normie this guy is, by the way. Super normie. That's his. Next time you see Ben Thorpe, that's his nickname, Super Normie. And EBT is he's showing me that he's probably not actually in the normie category. Drew is for sure. No offense, Drew. Well, offense, Drew. I mean, it is what Drew has no trouble saying what he thinks about me, so I'm not going to hold back. Drew's a fucking he's just a normie. That's fine. Normies have their place, and he does attract weirdos. That's for sure. Yeah, exactly. And the pill makes women smell wrong. Yeah, and it also women have, and again, I haven't read this in a while, but they have something like 2 to 3 distinct peaks in their sexual interest in a given month, and the pill completely gets rid of that cycle. It's just gone. Now, here's one thing I do notice. See, I very astutely notice female behavior. I'm very tuned in after 20 plus years of cohabitating with women and having 2 sisters growing up, by the way, 2 younger sisters. Um, I'm very attuned with women. So I do notice that if I go into a grocery store and I'm getting way too much attention from women, like I'm not kidding, these broads follow me around the store sometimes. I'm not, but I recognize it has nothing to do with me. It's just the fact that I'm an actual man in society in 2023. That's really all it takes. It has, see, I used to have an ego about it and used to think, oh, I'm something else, you know? Um, But no, it's just I'm an actual man. That sometimes it's annoying. They're following me around the grocery store. Meanwhile, like I said, they just come right up and talk to my dad. It happens all the time. But oh, but in Ben Thorpe's mind, I'm just inventing all this. I'm just on the internet, just making this up. I mean, come on, man. Why would I? Uh, and when I say I will cut off my nose to spite my face, look, if I didn't think it would hurt somebody's feelings, I'll go out here and have a girlfriend by the end of the week. What is today? Well, by the end of next week. Like that, do you think that's some kind of accomplishment to go out and get a woman? Meanwhile, dude, I've got 9 grand in cash on me and I make $1,100 on average a week. Like I just the fact that I have my teeth, my hair, and a job, I can get a woman. Like that's not a fucking problem. I mean, good lord. I mean, these are still human beings on some level, right? And I'm not. It's just not Southern California. And I've sat on the beach in Santa Barbara, California, and I've watched as every woman that walks by. Here comes a 30-year-old. She would be the hottest 30-year-old in any town in Arkansas. Here comes a 20-year-old. She'd be the hottest 20-year-old in any town in Arkansas. Here comes a 50-year-old. The fucking beautiful people, man. I'm from motherfucking Arkansas. Dude, ex-wife number 2 grew up on a chicken farm. Probably part of the reason I can spot a mind control victim, by the way. And he didn't like that shit. Because I've only ever seen that Mama Thorpe on, I've only ever seen her on Drew's channel. Because I've never been, I don't even know the name of the Thorpe's channel, but that's a literal mind control victim. And then now I got Yurt talking, shout out to In a Thought Experiment. Now I've got Yurt talking about that now she seems to be exhibiting a different personality. And I'm trying to point out, well, shit, if she's been mind controlled, she probably has that, what they used to call multiple personality disorder, now known as DID, dissociative identity disorder. Yeah, this roller coaster of a life. Buckle in. Again, what are they going to do to me, man? Like what? I'd rather not be locked in a cage for the rest of my life. You know, somebody earlier was making it, insinuating that Ben's a Fed and could somehow have me fucking locked up. Not that I'm breaking the law or anything, but and look, my own paranoia will certainly entertain those notions, you know, to some degree. But dude, I mean, what are they going to do to me? I live in a fucking big rig and work 7 days a week. I took 2 days off last month. As far as I can tell, as long as I'm willing to be a good little slave and do as I'm told and follow the rules, the Nightmare Dystopian Beast system is willing to allow me to continue to mine the fiat and talk to you fine folks via Alphabet, Google, YouTube's Hell Pit here in the belly of the beast. And if I'm dumb enough to join a movement, like I talked about on a recent live stream, then the movement descends further into the bowels and eventually is shat out the rectum of the beast. And then, like Patrice O'Neill, rest in peace, pointed out, we're then free to get back in line to be devoured by the beast yet again, to once again wake up and find ourselves in the belly of the beast. You know, I mean, that's literally what's going on here. But then I'm going to entertain some kind of notion as if I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I don't make great points. Look, I'm as arrogant and fucking narcissistic and full of myself as it comes. I can just come on here and tell everybody how great I am. Nobody wants to hear that. I don't want to hear that. Do you think I listen back to some of my own content? Do you think I want to hear myself brag on how awesome I am? You know, why would I? And it doesn't matter that I live in the truck. It doesn't matter my physical appearance. It doesn't matter my accent if I can defeat you in a battle of in a battle of wits, Ben Thorpe. And I easily did so. And by the way, didn't even know that was what was about to happen. And observed your tactics in real time, and just like fucking Morpheus in the Matrix, just more or less yawning. Now he did. I will admit he had me back on my heels a couple. He did. He had a couple of good thrusts there. I'll give him credit. I'm not going to just pretend like I was completely, you know, I received a couple of bruises in that. I'll admit to that. That's fine. You know, when you have a knockdown, drag out fucking fist fight, not that I ever do, but because I'm not dumb enough to do that in the real world. But yeah, I get a couple of bruises. That's fine. That's part of the game. Oh, you mean what? Women approaching him? Well, again, like I say, it was, dude. I'm from fucking Arkansas, man. I was it did not. I didn't have to do much really. And let's not forget, the reality is I came from what was considered a prominent family in the region. Is ridiculous. Yeah, I understand that sounds ridiculous. That's fine, but like that is a real thing, you know. There's like something to that. My grandfather literally was people. It was national news when he passed away in 2001. Like on fucking Sports Center and shit, and in the goddamn newspaper, Associated Press. I mean, there's something to that. We can laugh at it and make fun of it all we want, but dude, I look just like the guy. I look more like him than anybody else does. So the fact that I had a famous grandfather uh, who lived in the area and I looked a lot like him, is it really a fucking bridge too far that women more or less made it known that they wanted to have something to do with me? Like, is that really fucking shocking? Like, I don't. To me, it's just like, yeah, of course. Yeah, it's totally. Yeah, exactly. It's totally unbelievable to him. Well, because and also he has a complete lack of authenticity. And look, you think I don't know that? And I'm flattered, dude. Believe me, I'm flattered when I'm driving my truck and I know how I sound. I sound like a ridiculous fucking hick. Uh, and I look at the numbers and it's 20 people, and I'm driving at 3 in the morning, and people are listening to me. Now I don't get a big head about it, but uh, dude, I understand it's not has nothing to do with being a fake person. And ultimately, I don't give a fuck. Like, but come at me, man. Meanwhile, uh, maybe here in a second I'll get my act together enough, and we'll if EBT's still got the stream up, I'll go back and look at it. But uh, I came with a helpful idea. I actually fixed his idea. Assuming that he actually is saying, "Oh, I have $1 billion idea," and for in some kind of concept, presumably for a channel or something, and for content, and EBT's immediately like, "Well, that shit ain't gonna work." And I listened, and I said, "Well, shit, this would work, but it's got to be a butch lesbian." Oh, but back to what? Sorry, and I know I'm a bit all over the place, but I am pretty fucking ill actually, but and I don't feel well, but um, that's neither here nor there at this point. But yeah, about me having my hand on the woman's neck, my girlfriend's neck, and then she's saying, "Well, hand holding would suffice." Yeah, it would have. But see, I'm showing everybody that's mine. See, that culturally that was my property, and it's look. I'm just calling it like it was, man. In my culture that I grew up in, that was my possession. I'm not saying that's right. I don't really agree with that. Me personally. I don't. So now that I'm at a certain point, I became introspective and I really started to examine my own belief systems out of necessity. And I realized that, look, it's really not appropriate for me to be, like exercising this dominion over another human being. By the way, that's where we get into these concepts of that I talk about, person A using person B for person A's own gratification, right? So in a way, like this attractive woman, this Arkansas 9.5, literally, that's a symbol. That was a visual symbol of my greatness, right? Like literally, that was where I was at in my psychology when I met her. By the time we broke up, I was not that way at all. I had completely transformed, my belief systems, a lot of things going on in my own psychology. Because what I realized is that my brain had been programmed by growing up in a cult, by the culture itself, religion, national, all of these various things had programmed my mind, and I really had never examined my own beliefs. I just took for granted, well, of course, these things are true. So when I really got introspective and started saying, well, what do I believe? Why do I believe it? But then, and then you get into what do I think I believe versus what am I acting on in the real world, which is actually what I believe. I don't need you to tell me what you believe. If I can watch you and watch your actions, I will know what you believe because that's what you act on. See, and I did a lot of people watching, and I did a lot of study, a lot of formal study, and see that those benefits accrue to me. See, in 2023, in the YouTube streets, shout out to is it Sly Shy or Sly Shy, the black lady from last night. Shout out to her. I like talking to her. By the way, I talked to her for 3 fucking hours after EBT passed out. Um, I like talking to people. Um, and I kind of lost my point, but anyway, give me a second and I'll see if I can If I can actually make this audio work. Oh, about beliefs. Yeah, I'll get back to that too. I'm on one today, y'all. Ben got me a little fired up. Not too much, but he definitely got me a little fired up. See, this says scheduled. Okay. What? Is that why nobody's here? Because it thinks I'm not live? That's weird. Sometimes this YouTube be messing up. See, we're live here, but on my channel it says it's upcoming. Do y'all see that? It says 10 people are waiting. My channel it says no, I go in here and I'm talking, so that's weird. I don't understand YouTube sometimes. Now, some people would just be like, "Oh, I'm shadow banned." It's like, well, I'm not saying that. I just think maybe it's something with the software, and that I'm a boomer on that level. And I don't, even though I used to be a computer nerd, I don't really understand it. Now, can I go into the StreamYard while I'm over here, or do I have to close this window? That's the question. Can we have multiple Bentons? Device not connected. Oh, I see what happened. Sorry, hang on. I said this in the live chat when Drew was live. I said, at what point did the YouTube become watching boomers operate laptops and personal computers? Like, when did that happen? Yo, yo, yo. My browser can't access my devices. Try restarting my browser. Okay, I'll be right back. All right, am I back? I think I'm back. Thanks. See, thank you, Scott Core. I appreciate it. I'm entertaining and fascinating. Blessings, crazy trucker fella. And see, this is one of the major things Thorpe believed that he could attack me on, is this idea that he's trying to make these assertions that I'm not what you say I am. And again, not trying to brag. I know that that's what I am. Like I know that's what I am. So he can never ever make me believe anything other than that. Because if I wasn't that, I would know that. And that's how, by the way, that's how I can never be an actual lolcow. And that's what he said. Oh, you're a lolcow. I said, yeah, I used to be. I'm not now. I definitely used to be. Okay, good. I'm back. Let's see if I can share my screen now. That's the real question. I think I'm just going to close out this. So I'm trying to use Chrome. That's the problem. I was trying to use Chrome. We'll just go back to the Firefox. Now, is EBT, is his stream still there? That's the question. Because hell, we'll just play it back and break down the game film. Hey, I think it's still there.
Nigga.
Now, do we have audio? Like that's the question.
Bond guy? Jaws. Yeah.
Audio? Guess I can check on my phone. Yeah. Audio? Yeah, we got audio. Fantastic. So when did I come on here? But yeah, he got me on my heels a couple times. We'll recognize that. I'll take an L. Although I won overall, I'll take an L when it's time to take an L. And I won't even, by the way, I won't even show the part where he exhibited feminine characteristics in his thinking and the way he came across. Oh, 33 likes. See, I want to bump it to 34, but I like that 33. We'll leave that right there. Playback speed. We'll 1.25 it.
But you see, it's just an icon. But he's but right below the surface, he's like
There's your
karate
boy.
chopping right
Hey,
and left.
hey, real
silently.
quick, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, this idea will work, but it has to be a butch lesbian, not a guy.
That's an interesting point. I do think women have
That's
to help women.
perfect.
No,
Point.
a butch lesbian. Like back in the old days, I used to walk my woman into the Walmart. I'd have my hand on her neck, like that's my property. I've
Yeah.
seen that recently for the first time in years. It was a butch lesbian with
Yeah.
her lipstick lesbian girlfriend. They can do it. We're not allowed to anymore.
Right. Yeah, that is actually, I think that is really an important.
Well, that's a good point, Tranquil Vortex. Is what something I've talked about is that, since I'm generally a straight shooter and I just say what I mean and mean what I say, what happens is when I communicate that directly, because that is my communication style is directness, what happens is many people, because they're so used to people playing angles and all this covert and, all these subtext, which there can still be a subtext even with direct communication. A lot of people just immediately assume that I'm attempting to play some angle instead of just taking me as a genuine, well, no, I actually mean this thing. It's almost like me saying things about myself. In his mind, it's like it makes it's impossible that I could actually, that could have happened simply because I'm just flatly stating what was going on.
Part of it. But the butch lesbian's crazy. That's the problem.
That's not the point. The point is
Look what
people.
they've taken from us. Look what they've.
Yeah, again, did you hear what I said? He's saying the butch lesbian is crazy. Well, but wait a minute. Let's go back to what I've asserted, which is that the general public is de facto insane. So what's the relevance of a butch lesbian's craziness if the fucking audience is insane? Because if he's not talking about doing a live stream and it's, it's Benton driving a truck and it's 20 people watching. He said $1 billion idea. What he means is ad revenue and millions of views. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about something going viral, right? And being able to monetize it. That means most of the audience is going to be literally crazy or insane. So what is the relevance of, he's saying, well, yeah, but the lesbian's crazy. And again, I think this is where we get back to normies. See, and look, there's nothing wrong with being a normie. That's fine. And I did, by the way, this is how we first had Glenn on the show. Shout out to Glenn. This is how we first had Glenn around, was that he wanted, I can't say he was offended. He wanted to dispute this idea that I basically called the audience normies at a certain point. Now, I don't really even remember why I did that, but, he came on and rightly pushed back, which is, that's a conversation, right? Of course I want to hear what he has to say about it. Meanwhile, Ben Thorpe, who knows nothing about me, wants to tell me that I'm the worst listener he's ever seen me. And I'm just like, well, you live with Grace, so that can't possibly be true just because she's a 19-year-old girl. But meanwhile, I've got, unfortunately, because of EBT, I wasn't able to publish it, but I've got a live stream where I just more or less listened to that Sly Shy talk for hours. And then I occasionally interjected. And then I don't like to do this, but I had to become forceful a few times. I don't like this part of conversation where I have to more or less just grab the other person's hand and tie their fucking one of their arms behind their backs just to be able to get a point in. Right. But then I start making points and the person wants to interrupt me and talk over me. To me, unfortunately, that's just become normal human interaction. But let's go back a little bit, because I think the key to all this, I think, is what happened at the initial stage here. So let's start it over.
Right. But you see, it's just an icon. But but right below the surface, he's like karate chopping right and
Hey,
left.
hey, real
silently.
quick, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, this.
Yeah, and see, I'm considerate and polite. Sorry to interrupt. I'm recognizing, hey, you guys are having a conversation. I popped on here. Sorry to interrupt.
Deal will work, but it has to be a butch lesbian, not a guy.
That's an interesting point. I do think women have to help women.
No, a butch.
Well, see, and now he's already grandstanding. I think women have to help. What does that have to do with what I said? Right? Like it's just already this weird. It's already these weird tactics, right? I'm just trying to give him some. I don't give a fuck if he monetizes a shit. Who cares? I don't give a shit. I just happen to notice something he put forward, and I'm adding to it. Okay, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
lesbian. Like back in the old days, I used to walk my woman into the.
And then it gave him it, which you could say maybe this is not appropriate to give an example, but it's also entertaining for the audience. I would argue, and then it's something from my life, and it's also something I've noticed recently. I think this is pretty good social commentary, personally.
Women have to help women.
No, a butch lesbian. Like back in the old days, I used to walk my woman into the Walmart. I'd have my hand on her neck, like that's my property. I've seen that recently for the first time in years. It was a butch lesbian with her lipstick lesbian girlfriend. They can do it. We're not allowed to anymore.
Right.
Yeah. What? But see, and why is he agreeing? I mean, it's ultimate. Yeah, he is a weird manipulator. Ultimately, this is my fucking fault. I really shouldn't have even engaged this guy. I mean, ultimately, I'll take the blame for even. It's really my fault for engaging this bozo. I mean, ultimately. Yeah, then Ben Thorpe is exactly. Weird manipulator, liar, narcissist, and always going for angles, so he projects that onto the people. Yes, exactly. And you can see I can already see, like, in his nonverbal communication, the nodding and all of this, like, it's just weird, man. It's a weird thing.
Right. Yeah, that is actually, I think that is really an important part.
And I got, by the way, Drew's laughing. See, Drew likes this. See, go back to Drew's let's go back to Drew's reaction here. And by the way, content machine. Also, let's not forget. Motherfucking content machine. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we already talked about that. Yeah, exactly.
He's like karate chopping right
Hey, real quick, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, this idea will work, but it has to be a butch lesbian, not a guy.
That's an interesting point. I do think women have to help women.
No, a butch lesbian. Like back in the old days, I used to walk my woman into the Walmart. I'd have my hand on her neck, like that's my property. I've seen that recently for the first.
See, Drew, look at Drew. I rest my case. Why do I got to be debunked and destroyed? That says it all as far as I'm concerned, right there. And look at EBT. Come on now. I shouldn't even entertain this nonsense. There must be something wrong with me to entertain this half-baked nonsense. What's that say about me that I'm willing to entertain this fucking bozo? I got some work to do, y'all. This ain't good.
It was a butch lesbian with her lipstick lesbian girlfriend. They can do it. We're not allowed to anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And that's basically a mic drop as far as I'm concerned. Shit. I'm going to just come in and give you both barrels and let you deal with it, partner.
Yeah, that is actually, I think that is really an important part of it. But the butch lesbian's crazy. That's the problem.
That's not the point. The point is
look
people
what
will
they've taken from us. Look what they've taken from us.
People will accept
butch lesbian haircut right now.
He kind of does, but see, that's none of my business that he kind of does have a butch lesbian. But then he's got the 5 o'clock shadow going on too, so good on him.
Butch lesbian, 6'8".
Yeah.
6'8".
Strolling to Home Depot probably later on today, trying to find him
my orange ass shirt.
Yeah, you got teenage girls literally on testosterone now. You just got to find somebody that's a woman taking a bunch of testosterone and have them do it. It'll work.
Yeah, this is good. Take the idea. Okay, thanks, man. See you later.
It can't have a penis, and it's fine.
Well, let me ask you, how did it work in your situation?
Oh, see, this is where this is one of my kryptonites, because I do like, I do have certain personality traits where I enjoy people that also want to interface with my personality. See, I should have known not to entertain this. This is where I fucked up. I should have known not to entertain this. But see, it's my weakness. One of my weaknesses that I do enjoy some. Oh, so now I've given this great piece of wisdom and this unique idea. And now this other person who I've literally never spoken with, now he's interested by me, by my personality and my mind. And now he's curious and wants to know something. But my problem was, that's not the reality. The reality is he was merely biding his time to try to boondoggle me, trap me into some boondoggle, if I'm using the word boondoggle correctly. Now I got to look up the meaning of the word boondoggle. Sometimes I use these words correctly and sometimes I don't. Oh, yes, work or activity that is wasteful or pointless but gives the appearance of having value. Yeah. So good on him for that he caught me slipping and I should have just disconnected, really. But see what happened? He played to my ego here. He played to my ego.
My orange ass shirt.
Yeah, you got teenage girls literally on testosterone now. You just got to find somebody that's a woman taking a bunch of testosterone and have them do it.
You know,
Dude, it'll work. I'm telling
true.
you. Yeah, just can't. It can't have a penis, and it's fine.
Well, let me ask you, how did it work in your situation where you had a?
So when he starts asking me this, I think that he is some kind of, he's interested, right? Like wants to know about me. But then I'm also not seeing that, well, he's actually trying to imply that, you know, because I don't have a woman in my big rig with me, by the way.
By the neck, not well, right?
Oh, the grabbing by the neck. Oh, as if like saying that, oh, it didn't work out for me, meaning we're not together. But see, that presupposes that that was my end goal. The fact is, I don't care how it makes me sound. I was with my wives and girlfriends because primarily for the sexual relationship. That's just, I'm just being honest. That's what it was. Now we can say that, well, that's not good to do that to somebody. We can say, you know, you can have an opinion about that. That's completely fine. But it worked out great for me in that me and ex-wife number one literally had sex 3 times a day for the first year we were together. Me and ex-wife number two were together 10 years, and we had great sex right up until the very end of that thing. Like, dude, that was, you know, for better or for worse, that was my primary that was the without that, I never would have been interested in the relationship, period.
Well, if you mean I'd subjugated them and had excellent sex on a daily basis for 7 years with the first one and 10 years with the second one, it worked out great for me.
Yeah.
Okay, but long term.
Yeah, long term. The 7 years and 10 years, 17 years. I mean, how long? And see, this is another thing where I'm really not that smart in the moment. What the fuck? What do you mean by long term? Now, is the end? And look, Tranquil Vortex is in the chat. I just have to speak it like I see it. Is the end result being that I'm 70 and I'm with a 70-year-old woman that I've been with my whole life? That doesn't appeal. I'll just be honest. That doesn't appeal to me. Now, if that was the mother of my children, and we had built an entire life for ourselves that were like EBT's doing, that's, you know, most likely will eventually revolve around his grandchildren, right? And you know, same for Drew, possibly in his second go around at this, you know, his second bite at the apple. But when you do it, when you're talking about in the context, and when you're talking about in the context of somebody like me who never had children, like ultimately we're talking about something that is just not, as far as I'm concerned, it just doesn't even matter or exist. Now, does that make, I understand that might make me sound some type of way. I don't care how it makes me sound because it's real. Right now, do I want, here's the question is, what would be my motivation to go out here and get back into a situation like that when I know that a big part of me and ex-wife number two in the early stages of our relationship, other than the great sex, a big part of that was me being in love with my own ego. I was very much into my own ego at the time, at the level of, I've got this very attractive woman, but comparatively attractive because it is Arkansas, but I've got an Arkansas 9.5 on my arm. I literally would, because you know, I'm an oddball weirdo. At one point I had moved to another town while I was with ex-wife number two, and I had started working, and I got to know, I lived in this rooming house, and I got to know this guy who was around my age. Well, ex-wife number two came to visit me, and this dude was like, "That's your girlfriend?" Because I don't think we were married yet, or maybe we were. I don't remember. He said, "You know, that's your girlfriend or that's your wife?" Like he couldn't believe, because he could only get women of a certain attractiveness. He was like astonished. I was like, and I'm just like, "Yeah, man, what are you talking about?" But to me, it never was a big deal. It's like, oh, it's fucking, yeah, it's a woman, man. She's attractive. Like that's women are supposed to, isn't that supposed to be? You know, I understand that his wife was maybe not as attractive, but I never looked at him like, you know, why is your woman not as attractive as, it's, you know, but I was definitely into, I enjoyed that was people's reactions. I enjoyed that sometimes I'd walk down the street with her and guys are like, you know, like looking at her, right? Like, because in my shallowness at the time, like that reflects on me. Well, so now here I am, 47, chronic illnesses, sex drive ain't what it used to be, thank God. And this is like I pointed out earlier in the stream, you know, thank God, you know, 30 fucking years of obsession, that was enough, right? By the time I was 13, that's all I could think about till I was damn near 40 was women and having sex with women. About all I could think about all day long. You know, I don't, why would I want to go through that again? So what, from my perspective, I honestly, it's just like I don't see the point of owning a dog, because I know at some point somebody's going to drive by and they're going to see me and I'm standing there with a leash and a dog is hunched over and I'm watching a turd come out of a dog's ass. Like, I just don't understand. What's the attraction of that? Like, I'm not wired for that. Like, I'm not wired for this. Oh, you know, we're going to get married and have companionship, right? Like, I don't think it would be that. Like, I go to the truck stops. It's not that hard to have another human being in the truck with me. That's not also a co-driver, right? Like, I don't think that's that fucking difficult. I've seen whole families in trucks. Um, but anyway, and you know, I am pedantic, so I know I will kind of beat the shit out of this. You know, we're like 30 seconds in. Yeah, exactly. To each their own. Yeah. But see, now I'm going to be, it's almost like he knows to try to take the societal programming and use it against me. And see, I was not having observed his tactics. You know, he did kind of catch me off guard, and then it was just like, oh, this is where he's going. Well, I'll just answer his question, you know. But then now that's going to be used almost like tinfoil does. That's going to be used to try to make me appear some type of way. Well, I'll just come on my own live stream and I'll talk about anything having to do with my past relationships in excruciating detail. And, you know, if my father will cooperate, I'll get him on a live stream. By the way, I've already done a podcast with my mom. Shout out to Nana. I don't know if anybody remembers that. I had an entire episode of my podcast where I basically had a long form discussion with my mom. I probably got that on a SD card. Hell, if y'all want to listen to me long enough, maybe we'll go listen to that too.
Nobody stays together long term. There's zero. Now Drew and EBT might, but it's effectively zero. Nobody stays together. Like that's a non-starter.
You're not gay, partner.
Yeah, well, sure. Yeah, you can. Again, yeah, Benton has certain proclivities, but so what? You know, I mean, I don't see what that has to do with it personally. Meanwhile, Benton wasn't operating based on that back in the day. That's for sure. Why? It's called repression. It's called suppression. It's called society did not accept that, and the only reason why I even have dealt with that in my own life is because it's harmful for me to repress certain aspects of myself. It's harmful, right? Like, dude, I'm fucking straight laced and I'm pretty vanilla, man. I don't even like Drew. His mind goes into the gutter a lot and he wants to talk about all this weird porn shit, dude. I'm not interested in that stuff. Ugh. Why?
So, I don't know what you're talking about. That's the ideal, isn't it?
You don't know the ideal.
I'm saying in society, nobody stays married effectively. EBT and Drew probably will, but they're the exception.
Again, I'm making clear points, right? I mean, like, I guess I'm confused that is he just willfully choosing to ignore my points here? Like, I don't understand. Again, lack of intellectual integrity. So when I talk to somebody and they make actual fucking sensical points, I don't pretend like they didn't make an actual sensical point. I don't factor in, well, they've made a point and this point is inconvenient for this other point that I'm planning on making. Therefore, I'm just going to pretend, like this guy doesn't have a point. And ultimately, it is my fault I chose to engage far longer than I should have.
They're the
No,
only people I
I
like
agree.
maintain it.
Say
You
what?
don't think the ideal is that these
That bitch ain't going. That bitch
remain
ain't going
stable?
nowhere. Is what I'm saying.
I think the young people aren't even getting married.
Which they're not, by the way. Not like they used to. Again, the official fiction, right? The man who believes the official story of 9/11, right? So I mean, we do believe governments. If we believe the official story of 9/11, then we also believe government statistics. Like, we can just Google all of these various statistics over time. Like, it's not going to be difficult for me to just be like, well, here's the numbers. And since he's not an actual conspiracy theorist, what's he going to do? Oh, well, that's the government. That's the fake government number. Okay, but you believe in 9/11. You believe in the official story of 9/11. So how am I going to let you fucking now you're going to try to say that the government number, and I don't necessarily believe the government numbers either. But like I've talked about on my podcast, I always reserve the right to reference the official fiction. I'll go read from Angela Davis's fucking Wikipedia page. That doesn't mean I believe that she really went to fucking Moscow and accepted the Lenin Peace Prize necessarily, right? And that she supposedly went and put flowers on the grave of like uh, was it an East German fucking border guard, who got murdered. So apparently some guy was trying to flee East Germany with his family. I may have those backwards, but whichever one was communist. And then some border guard got killed trying to stop this guy fleeing communism. And supposedly Angela Davis went and put flowers at his grave. Now I don't know if that shit ever happened, but it's part of the official fiction. Why shouldn't I be allowed to reference the official fiction? Meanwhile, this bozo's out here in the conspiracy circles believes the official story 9/11. But then I'm seeing that more and more. Have y'all not noticed this? This one trucker that I can't remember the guy's name. There's this trucker that Truther Cops had on a couple of times, and it's the guy he tried to say that Hillary Clinton was a hick from Arkansas, and I had to go in the comments and be like, well, actually, Hillary's from Chicago. She moved to Arkansas in like 1974, because she was getting with Bill, and he's from Arkansas. Like, Hillary ain't from Arkansas, you doofus. And then that same guy is wanting, he basically was just more or less like saying that he believed the official government story of 9/11. But that's who's now, when I talk about the normie is the baby truther. Well, some of those baby truthers literally believe the official story, because they, back in the day when I was having those debates on message boards about Building 7 and all this, the NIST report, and we're just going back and forth for hours at a time. And in fact, that's how I developed a lot of my debate skills was through the offtopic.com fucking message board debate streets. And, that's who's now in the fucking truth community, the so-called truth communities. I mean, what even is this at a certain point? Like, seriously. Yeah, I'm interfacing with a covert narcissist. He's not debating in good faith. He's not listening to you or trying to have a discussion. He's trying to create chaos and get emotional. Exactly. And see, that's where this comes in, is that, and look, the fact is, I do have a track record of being triggered. I have a history of rage quitting discords. I have a history of sometimes yelling at people. Yeah, that is absolutely true. But I do believe that at my best, even with these health problems, when I'm sharp and, I'm somewhat well rested, although really I'm not, because I work my ass off. Something else I don't really talk about. But the fact is, I have lived a certain type of way where while I don't have complete mastery of my emotions, certainly, and I'm a very emotional person, especially for a man, that's just a fact, that I do have enough emotional control that I'm never going to lose emotional control in this moment with him. But yeah, of course I'm triggered, but I'm triggered talking to you guys right now. Like, this idea, the you mad bro, oh, he's feeling some type of emotion. Like, to me, that's almost, that idea is like jump the shark. The fact that I can talk to him and express myself in my ridiculous accent, but I can be very accurate and very strict and very strident in my speech. And that's what I exhibited here, by the way, is there's a term for this called strident. The fact that I'm able to do that without losing control of my emotions. See, what does he have to do? And see, I don't access ridicule that often. Wait a minute, let's go back over here. See, and this is what I called him out on, was that I said things that were true. And then what he's about to do is he's trying to make it seem through ridicule like these are things that I'm inventing. Oh, well, these are your ideas. And I'm like, no, they're not my ideas. I'm observing this in society. These are my observations. It's not my ideas. So whenever he fled was when I stooped to his level of utilizing ridicule, as we'll see at the end. I utilize ridicule at the level of, oh, well, you believe the official story of 9/11. That's when he fled, was when the ridicule got leveled at him. And I rarely ever use that in the context of some kind of verbal battle. But then we can also, I've talked about wanting to study astrology, and maybe we'll go look at my birth chart where I can show you my birth chart analysis, and it says he loves verbal battles. It says that. Like, I love a verbal battle, dude. fucking thrive on this shit on some level, which is, by the way, why I stuck around as long as I did. Yeah, I should have pieced it as soon as he started wanting to interrogate me. I should have just been like, all right, man, y'all have a good night. I'm just going to hang up and listen. But I enjoy the verbal battle, and that, for better or for worse. If you keep repeating a lie, eventually people will accept it as truth. You can even convince yourself 9/11 was an outside job. Well, I mean, in the thing, to me, it's kind of dead and buried, and it's not even an interesting topic anymore. But then, a person like Ben Thorpe, who knows what he truly believes? He may be espousing these views simply to fit in or to put forward a certain image in an attempt to garner a specific audience. What I like about what I'm doing is that I'm free to be me. And yeah, any human being, I will sometimes kind of get up in my head and think about, well, if I talk about that, what's the audience going to think, right? But at the end of the day, I'm going to have to be authentic. I have to be, right? And this is a person who's almost completely inauthentic, who, does he even know himself? I don't know. It's none of my business, right? Like, I don't get anything out of destroying him, but I love it when somebody like him comes at me and gets pieced up. Right. Oh, okay. Well, come at me and I'll carve you up and I'll scalp you and I'll put the scalp on the wall and I'll hold the scalp up and show it to everybody. Yeah, it is what it is, man. I love it. I don't think it makes me better. I don't think it really matters, but it's fun. You're right. It's amusing. It's more fun than having a woman in the truck with me. How about that at the age of 47 with these health problems? I can make my own coffee, sir. I mean, I've got a manual coffee grinder. I've got whole coffee beans. I drink black coffee and I drink delicious gourmet coffee. What are we even talking about here?
Go on the ground. She go on the ground before she go anywhere else is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. But all right. So you guys do this. You guys have this attitude like bitches need to be dealt with harshly.
No, that's what.
See, I don't have an attitude. See, this is not, again, see what he's doing here? We have an attitude. No. I've observed firsthand and observed through other people that what I'm speaking on, women respond to it. That's the only thing I'm saying. It's not my attitude about the matter. And in fact, the fact is, there was at least a couple of times when straight white males with money, their own home, jobs, who were probably physically attractive, went to the gym. This is sounding a lot like somebody in the chat, by the way, but they could not get a woman. Meanwhile, I'm in line at Walmart and there's some loser, alcoholic, criminal gang member in a wife beater with a halfway decent woman with him. See? And those guys, at least a couple of different times, literally PayPal'd me money. And all I did was talk to them on the phone and basically was just more or less like, to try to explain to them that the woman, when you go to Walmart, buddy, and you see some fucking piece of garbage criminal scum in a wife beater without unemployed loser with a woman, that's your fault, you fucking nice guy, because she would rather be with you, but you're not an option because you're a nice guy. And she would rather be with this criminal unemployed scum because at least he gives her what she needs on some level. He gives her what she responds to. You're too, air quotes, nice to do that. In fact, it's your fault she's with that loser because she would rather be in your house with you and your nice clothes and your nice car and your nice job, but you can't get over yourself enough to just go ahead and treat her the way that, not the way that you want to treat her, the way that she responds to, which is ultimately all that matters. Everybody votes with their feet, by the way. I'm not saying you got to, treat them mean to keep them keen. I'm saying when I was with ex-wife number 2, whenever she started giving me a bunch of problems and I look back on our recent interactions, it was because I was too nice to her. And she knows inside that she ain't no fucking princess. So why is he treating me like a fucking princess? See, now here comes the insecurity and whatever feelings that I'll never relate to because I'm not a woman, but I can observe it, right? When I was treating her a little more harshly and a little more roughly, no problems. See, that's a pattern. That's not me having an attitude. That's me observing what the other person responds to. And I used to just straight up tell her, I said, I don't really want to have to be mean to my woman. Like, I'm not into this. Like, she was the type that wanted you to knock her around a little bit. I was like, look, I'm not into this, man. Like, yeah, it might choke you a little bit in the bedroom, possibly upon request, but dude, I don't get anything out of this, but I am stern and I'm serious and I was socialized, and me and her came from the same cultural background in Arkansas. And in fact, she was also raised in a cult, the Seventh-day Adventist, but culturally, I was socialized and raised in a certain type of way that I was always going to be some minimum level of domineering over her, right? But I'm also a nice guy, by the way. I'm just not a pushover, and I won't take nobody's shit. See, these nice guys that had to listen to my podcast and would listen and occasionally would pay me to talk to them over the phone, which was basically just, hey, get your head out of your ass, buddy. Next time you're at Walmart and you see the loser criminal unemployed person with a halfway decent looking woman, and you're like, man, how come he can get a woman and I can't? Realize that she would rather be with you. And in fact, you're the one punishing her because you won't just fucking grab your nuts and subjugate the women just a little bit, just a minimum level of abuse. Let's face the reality that these women most of them require a minimum level of abusive treatment. That's not my attitude, Ben Thorpe. That's not me making that. That's what they respond to. Meanwhile, Drew himself will make jokes about, get in there and make me a sandwich to Layla on fucking live stream, right? And that is something of an acknowledgement of he's the fucking boss. It's his house, and on some level, it is his way or the highway, right? Sure. That it used to be that way across the board is what I'm saying. Now it's unusual to be that way. But the fact that I will actually just verbalize it in an open public setting, now all of a sudden it's your attitude. I'm on here creating misogyny? Like, what are you talking about? I didn't invent misogyny in the last 10 seconds, sir.
They respond to. That's what they respond to.
Yes.
No,
Then
not
they don't like
necessarily.
it.
Oh, and then see EBT, the family man has to, not necessarily. Yeah, there's always exceptions to everything, brother. But go be too nice to that broad over time and see what happens to you. Yeah. And I guarantee you, EBT did not get his wife by being overly nice to her when he met her. I guarantee he was probably a fucking cocky asshole when he met her, most likely. Very high likelihood of that. Now, I might be wrong, but I bet I'm not.
Then they don't
Not
like it
necessarily.
long-term, right?
Not necessarily.
They don't like that long term. See, we're already way far afield. Who said anything about what they like? I'm talking about what they respond to. You ain't never seen a woman complain about her man? How many women have gone to a nice guy and cried on his shoulder and said, that motherfucker treats me this way, that motherfucker treats me that way. I'm looking at you, Name. I know you've lived this at some point. He's all the time mean to me, and he does this to me, and he does that to me. And then somebody like Name, sorry, man, I just got to call it like I see it, says, that's okay. I would never do that to you. You're so great. I can't believe a man would do that to you. And then she feels better. And then she goes right back and spreads her legs for that same man and does it over and over and over and over. Well, I can't never guarantee. See, I figured it out strategically. I said, well, I can't never guarantee that I'm the guy having sex with her, but I can absolutely guarantee that I'm never the guy that she comes crying to whenever he mistreats her. Because if she comes and complains to me, I'm going to look at her and say, well, that's your fault. Fuck is wrong with you? Break up with him. Why are you telling me? What am I going to do about it? Because I'll literally talk to him that way. But you're also talking to somebody who waited tables at Outback for 3 years in a highly sexualized environment with mostly female, coworkers. And, because I was viewed some type of way, I was back in my weightlifting days and had my long hair and I was all into my ego and I was really putting forward a certain image, kind of like Not like Ben Thorpe, but Ben Thorpe's clearly putting forth a visual image, and they knew I had an attractive girlfriend, that later became my wife, and this was all known. So in this environment, that they were just themselves around me, right? And a little bit of slap and tickle here, there, and a lot of here and there, and a lot of flirting and such. And I got to see all of these things play out. I got to observe it. I got to observe it happening. So you can't never trick me when I've seen some shit with my, and I kind of wanted to make a bigger point with the waiting tables, but I've lost my point. But you can't never trick me when I've seen the real shit, right? And that, again, back to my point I'm making. I knew I can't never guarantee that I'm the man sleeping with her, but I can absolutely guarantee that I'm not the one she comes crying to. Because don't no man want to be the guy that she comes and cries to, and then she's just going to go right back and bang this dude again? That's abuse, man. That's abuse. You want to talk about person A using person B for person A's own gratification? That's what that is. Them women know. Now, they can act all innocent, like, oh, yeah, it's all fun and games. And they just, oh, I didn't mean to do that or whatever. They know what they're doing. You get into some duper's delight with that shit. They know exactly what they're doing. So if I'm dumb, I remember why I said this, because for a time I worked in South Florida at Outback in West Palm Beach. Shout out to JG. Get him, JG. And there was a lot of attractive female waitresses there, and there was one in particular I liked her. She had a body that I really responded to. Because that's what I'll be honest, that's what I respond to is the body. It's not even the face as much as the body. And she never would really give me the time of day. She's always shitty to me. She's always a bitch to me. Always. And I was feeling my oats at the time. I was in my 30s. Like I said, I was pumping up on the weights and had the long hair and all of that. And, I can talk some game too, obviously. And we were at the bar waiting on our drinks. We're both servers and we're waiting on our drinks. And she's standing there eating olives off the bar. And she looks at me and she goes, if I keep eating these olives, I'm gonna get fat. I said, gonna be. That it just unfroze her whole shit. Dude, we were friends after that. She was never a bitch to me after that. Solely based on that one comment. So you think I don't see that when I know that means something. See, to a lot of people, it's just like, oh, well, that was a fucking coincidence. No. That in that moment, that communicated something to her. She responded to me just being real. Basically, because she was a little thick, but in a good way, man. And, she probably was a little insecure about her weight. She probably wanted the nice guy reassurance of, oh, you got nothing to worry about. You look good or whatever. I said, gonna be. Basically, like, bitch, you already are. Which she was overweight, but she looked good, right? She had a good shape to her. She was young, but she had too many pounds on her. Well, I'm going to sit there and lie to her fucking face? Be like, no, you ain't got nothing to worry about. And by the way, South Florida, see, a lot of skinny girls. There. See, I was the one paying attention to the thicker girls with the big hips. That's what I like to see back in the day. See, now that it's all ass men. See, I was an ass man back then. Now I'm going back. I'm going old school. Now it's tits. And then going back to the big natties. See, yeah. But see, I knew that meant something. I'm not stupid. But meanwhile, that was just me being real. But so if I'm dumb enough to just to accept the cry on the shoulder, well, whose fault is that? Meanwhile, he's subjugating her, domineering. Probably ain't got a job. Fucking piece of garbage. And she's going to cry to me. Here I am with a job and a car and, doing okay, right? But if I'm dumb enough to let her cry on my shoulder, she's going to get her validation. And then she's going to run right back for the dicking. And see, if a man allows, that's his fault. It's not me having an attitude, Ben Thorpe. But meanwhile, I literally did a fucking podcast about this. I read all of the written material on the internet that was available. If I know what the fuck I'm talking about, you're not going to be able to defeat me. And meanwhile, I didn't even go into this material with him. I could have just been like, well, actually, if y'all want to give me the floor, I'll just go ahead and I'll literally just spend 45 minutes breaking down how fucking male-female interactions work with respect to romance, sexual attraction, certain dynamics. If y'all want to just shut the fuck up, and I'll just give you a fucking A-level university paper off the top of my head right here if you'd like, right? But I didn't do that. Why? Because I'm on a broadcast and I'm not going to abuse, and it's not my stream, and I'm not going to abuse the fucking people's attention. And I understand there's a certain element of people want to, Drew especially, I know wants to engage with this personality known as Ben Thorpe. Why? Because Drew's a normie, and that's okay, Drew. It's okay that you're a normie, but this person is not this is not an interesting person, by the way. This is not an interesting person.
Here's the thing is, women can't handle it when everything's copacetic and calm and placid.
I agree with you about that.
Look, feminine energy is rooted in chaos. Masculine energy is rooted in order.
Yeah.
I think there's
They
some
do
truth to that.
when they need the fucking boot on the neck. They need it.
Okay, but also the fact that they respond to it means they have a little bit of it in them as well, right?
We'll see a little bit of what? What is he talking about? I guess I should have asked him to clarify. I did kind of go off half cocked here. I will admit to that. I did go off a tad half cocked. I do tend to do that sometimes.
No, I'm saying that they need us to order the chaos.
Right. I understand what you're saying, but if you say they're just purely chaotic, then it would be
I didn't say that. See, I didn't say that they were purely chaotic. I said feminine energy. The nature of feminine energy is rooted in chaos. That's a fact. It's not me having a viewpoint. It's not me having an attitude. I didn't say, but see, he's already misrepresenting my argument. By the way, shout out to In a Thought Experiment, the content creator formerly known as In the Art with Books. This is a logical fallacy. And if I'm dumb enough to entertain his logical fallacies, whose fault is that? See, I'm not supposed to be tolerant at the level of this bozo's logical fallacies. It's my job to be like, well, actually, you fucking know. I caught you slipping, partner.
I didn't say that. I said the feminine energy is obviously we're all a mixture of masculine and feminine energy.
Yeah. No, I agree with you when you're saying that.
Well, but again, okay, now here's a narcissist, by the way. See, and this is one of the major narcissist traits. And see, you think I could just do a whole fucking narcissist channel if I wanted to. I really don't find it that interesting. But I've noticed this my dad does this, and that's been my my most by the way, I have a good relationship with my classical narcissist father, Mr. Thorpe. Think about that shit. You think I didn't have to cut that motherfucker out of my life for several consecutive years as an adult? Seriously. And he acts like he has no fucking idea why we just didn't speak for like 5 years. I mean, but we have a good relationship now. Probably because I worked on it. But something, and he has also, to his credit, he's also worked on it. But narcissism, I've noticed with these narcissists, they say that they agree with me or I agree with that person as if the fact that he agrees carries any weight. Who cares what you agree with, Ben Thorpe? Only thing I care about is it a true idea? Are you agreeing with me, the human being, or are you agreeing with the idea I'm espousing, which is actually, it's not my idea. It's coming from my observations, but it is going through my very astute analysis, which works in concert with, I filled my brain with all kind of shit I've read over long motherfucking periods of time. And it also comes from my own people watching over long periods of time, which is why I can speak on these things. See, if I can demonstrate it, see, the benefit accrues to me and also to the audience of the broadcast. But then people want to use these very, very minute little tweaks, right? And then, but see, oh, I agree with you, as if it's somehow relevant who he agrees with. See, my dad thinks that the fact that he agrees with some content creator. So if me and my dad are having an intellectual conversation, eventually my dad will want to reference an idea, but it's an idea that he got from a specific content creator. And my dad cannot tell me the motherfucking idea until he gives me the biography of the content creator. And I'm just like, man, I don't give a fuck about the content creator. Please, can we just skip the biography? I'm trying, because we can't, by the time we get done with the biography, we've forgotten we don't even remember what we were talking about intellectually. Like, and by the way, I give zero weight to the biography. And when I told Drew that I've got boomer takes for days, this is one of my biggest boomer takes, is these boomers, especially these male boomers, and especially these more narcissistic male boomers, they really give a lot of weight to the biography of the person who is espousing the idea, which to me is basically means nothing. Now, I will factor it in along with, but I'm going to make up my own mind based on the validity of the ideas. But something happened to these boomers at the level of their psychology. It's almost like the General Patton or something. Something came, or Walter Cronkite. It's like we have this large looming figure of just extreme confidence and strength. So we're not putting our confidence in the ideas. We're not putting our confidence in the thoughts. We're putting our confidence in the human being itself, right? Or themselves. So these boomers, and I'm not even saying this applies to Thorpe. I'm saying in general, these boomers, they're attempting to operate in the modern age, in an information age, in the internet age. In my dad's literally meeting, his romantic partners on the internet now, but he's still trying to interface with a lot of these notions based on it's a strong personality and a strong leader. I mean, it's basically Joseph motherfucking Stalin at a certain level. It's like we can look at what happened in Russia and people, it's like, oh, how could that happen? You look at what happened in Germany. Oh, how could that happen? All these other countries. Look at what happened in America with Trump. It's a fucking strong leader. And something about the boomers, they respond to that very powerfully. And to where I'm just like, look, I don't need the fucking bio, man. Can we please just have the conversation? Or you could just tell me the idea and then later on you could be like, oh yeah, I got that idea from such and such. You know. But see, I didn't realize this at first, but what my dad is doing is he's conveying this as if, okay, I'm having a conversation with my son who ultimately has more knowledge and is a little sharper than me in these ways. And that's hard for a boomer to face also. Just the fact that I'm 20 years younger than him, there is a certain element of, he's not really going to be able to accept that, well, actually I have much greater understanding of these ideas than he does, right? So he thinks he's weighting his ideas by slipping in the biography. So this is, and I agree about the covert narcissism, because what Thorpe's doing here, and it's very subtle, but it's like he thinks that it somehow carries weight who and what he agrees with. But I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I'm not here for what you agree with. That doesn't even matter to me. In fact, in a lot of cases, I would rather that he did not agree. But see, he cannot disagree with me without owning an idea. The only way he can be like, well, actually, Benton, I disagree, and here's why. Now he's putting forward, and this is what I'm so critical of Tinfoil Straitjacket about. If Ben does that, he's now putting forth a notion that I can then attack, and it's already attached to him. So what you see him doing here is he's trying to construe my valid observations, my real world valid observations, and I'm referring to the official fiction. He's trying to misconstrue that as if I'm having an attitude or an idea or a thought process, and he's attempting to use logical fallacies to attack me on that basis. To actually, and by the way, this always works with the peanut gallery. The peanut gallery will absolutely be convinced that somebody's won an argument based on those strategies because they're too dumb to understand the strategy. So do you think I give a flying fuck what people who are too dumb to judge a debate, if they think I lost the debate, but they're literally not intelligent enough to judge it? I don't care. Now, EBT knows. He knows who won the debate. And you see him trying to hamstring me, by the way, to anybody that saw this in real time. Hey, what's happening, Dark Glasses Woody? To anybody, and did you just get here? I may back this up. Boomers love authority and always fall for ad hominems. Yes, sir. Well, I'm going to take a real quick break now that Dark Glasses Woody is here. And I don't know if Woody, do you not like this attention? By the way, I do tend to shower Woody with attention when he shows up. So I'm going to pause for just a moment, and I'll probably back this up a little bit because I don't know if Woody saw it in real time, but had quite an interesting interaction. My first ever interaction, so-called face-to-face here with Ben Thorpe. But give me just a second. I got to take care of some business, and I BRB. All right, we back. Woody, do I need to back this up, or do you think you can figure it out from here? We'll just go with it. Let me know if you need some context.
But if you say they're just purely chaotic, then would be
No,
nothing.
I didn't say that. I said the feminine energy is obviously we're all a mixture of masculine and feminine energy.
Yeah. No, I agree with you when you're saying that. But what I'm saying is, I'm not trying to make it personal, but I'm saying
I'm not trying to make it personal, and he's about to make it extremely personal, by the way. Meanwhile, okay, whatever. And I don't, when somebody says I'm not trying to make it personal, I'm not, I just ignore that. It's like, well, I'm going to observe you and watch what you do. I'm not going to take your word. Oh, you're not going to make it personal. Meanwhile, he gets extremely personal here shortly.
if the man is always playing that role, the women, I don't know if you feel like what happens is that the chaos just overcomes, but it doesn't work.
For whom?
Well,
Doesn't work for whom?
well,
In the old days, the wife died in childbirth, and the man went to town and just got a new wife. I mean, we're overvaluing.
Really, buddy.
Yeah, that is. Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the official fiction. That's what I'm pointing out. This is somebody who believes the official government story of 9/11, but is acting like I'm just making up that this is the way things were in this country not that long ago. Let's face the reality. We meaning men did not allow women to vote until 19 motherfucking 20. I mean, think about that.
No, you're
Really? Yes.
no, you're saying things that don't make sense.
No, I'm not. See, this is just straight up gaslighting. That makes total sense.
No, I'm not. That was life. I'm not saying things that don't make sense.
We didn't let them vote until 1920, but I'm talking crazy because I'm saying back in the olden days, if the woman left or they got a divorce, now she's damaged goods, and he just went off to town and found it. Now I'm obviously being hyperbolic, and I'm obviously exaggerating for effect. Of course, yeah, absolutely.
We overvalue women in the present society. They're overvalued. Men are undervalued. That's
Okay,
just how
well, actually, I think you're making the point that I would make. You're saying like a kind of post-menopausal woman is actually useless in society.
Never said that, by the way. In fact, the woman I love the most in this realm is a postmenopausal woman. I would never consider her useless.
And is a malevolent force. Is that
Nope, never said any of that.
right?
That's some Islam shit you're talking right
No,
now.
I'm not saying that.
Oh,
I'm saying that in the old days, if a woman left her husband, she was seen as damaged goods, and nobody would have anything to do with her. She had to move to the big city and hope nobody found out about her reputation. The man literally went to town and got a new wife. That's what I'm talking about.
Again, the official fiction. Now, I'm not saying that really happened because I wasn't around back then. I'm saying if you watch these old movies and you read these old books, that's how society was portrayed. That's the point of the official fiction. Doesn't mean that happened. I'm pointing out this is the official narrative, which again I always reserve the right to refer to the official narrative. Why wouldn't I? And meanwhile, I'm talking to a bozo who I saw on Drew's stream literally say that he believes the official story of 9/11. He said that.
well, I mean, I don't know what you're saying. In the old days, people largely didn't get divorced.
Because
That's my point. Exactly. You're making my point, sir. Thank you.
the woman didn't have the option. That's the
Oh,
point.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, now that they have the option, divorce rates have skyrocketed. This is back to the male in the past society, which by the way, the commies have said this is a patriarchy, a male dominated society. Well, if that's true in the recent past, the male dominated society, it was not a woman could not divorce her husband and also be socially accepted. This is basic and obvious.
It wasn't an option.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're not living in the olden. I don't know if you think just in the olden.
I didn't say we were living in the olden days. I'm making a point. I'm making a comparison between then and now, and I'm tying it in with feminine energy being rooted in chaos, and the fact that now these structures are no longer imposed upon women. That we see the chaos running amok, which is I don't think it's debatable that that's what we're seeing.
Exactly. That's my point. That we're not living in those days. So
Right.
why are you trying to say that's the ideal when that shit's over with? It's gone.
Okay, so you're saying that having a stable relationship of males and females having a stable, lifelong relationship is not an ideal?
I'm saying that it effectively doesn't exist any longer.
But is it an ideal?
Well, I would say in the inverted world, I don't think it's a coincidence that is under attack, and it's basically considered verboten. let's face the reality that a man in a relationship with a woman who just behaves like a man is seen as oppressive. The mere act of her cooking me a meal is viewed as me oppressing her.
Yeah, exactly. So now we reach the point where he's unable to refute any of my arguments with logic and reason. So now we're just going to go straight to the personal attacks very shortly.
I understand that.
But that's the context. Everything we're discussing exists within that context. You can't remove the context and then talk about the way things should be or could be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This
Yeah, this is not in a vacuum. This is all in very specific cultural and anthropological contexts, and you cannot remove the context. It loses all meaning. The discussion has no meaning without those contexts. Now, I will ask you this, guys. Am I overestimating his level of intelligence here? Because, dude, I really don't consider myself. I honestly don't consider myself particularly intelligent. I do believe that I'm able to strongly access logic and reason, and I do have my brain does a lot of analysis over time, but I don't consider myself particularly bright overall. And in fact, I am a bit of an idiot in the moment. Something I've observed my entire life, and I'm a bit gullible and naive. But am I actually overestimating his level of intelligence? See, I just assume that he probably is smarter than me, right? That's just I'm operating based on he's probably smarter than me. Maybe I'm wrong.
idea that you have of like holding.
No, it's not an idea that I have.
See, that's where I caught him. See, let's go. I think this is very important. This is where I caught him.
Should be or could be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This idea that you have of like holding.
No, it's not an idea that I have. I'm speaking on what exists. It's not my idea.
Oh, okay.
See, what you're doing is
Now, see here, you hear the ridicule. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Sure, buddy. Sure, it's not your idea, buddy. Sure, you're out here observing reality and commenting on it. Sure, you are. See, we're already at appeals to ridicule. See, I don't do this, except when I finally did ridicule him, he fucking ran like a little baby. I won't even say the B word, the other B word. He ran like a baby.
That you have of like holding.
no, it's not an idea that I have. I'm speaking on what exists. It's not my idea.
Oh, okay.
See, what you're doing is you're
Okay,
taking
you're just
what
a
I've
retard.
said. No.
Okay.
You're taking what I've said and
Shut
you're
your
attempting to
fucking
make it
mouth.
appear
Shut up.
ridiculous.
See, he did it first. See, later on, he's going to try to accuse me of what he's doing and talking over people and trying to shout them down. He immediately went to the yelling at me to shut up. And I think it's interesting to observe the effects of. Now, I will say that some of his what I would consider below the belt personal attacks, I would say they did knock me backwards a little bit, but I feel like I regained my confidence and did just fine.
Shut up.
No, I'm not going to shut up.
Oh my god.
You can't get away with this. You just tried a trick and I won't let you get away with it. I saw what you did there. No, I spoke on reality and you attempted to ascribe it to me and then abstractly make me appear ridiculous. The problem is you're really not smart enough to have this debate with me. You're not. You're not intelligent enough because I caught you in your bullshit the second it came out of your mouth. And that's why, by the way, that's why I have no trouble. Listen to this. That's why I have no trouble subjugating a woman because the instant that the bullshit comes out of her mouth, I know it's her
Facts, by the way.
The second it comes out of her mouth, I know it's bullshit. And I can,
Dude, ex-wife number 2's walked in the front door after work before, which I wasn't working because I was having personal problems at the time. I'd quit my job. And I knew, by the way, I could just sit around the apartment all day long and do whatever I wanted. I just had to time it. So when she walked through the front door, I knew I had to be pretending like I'm washing a dish or something. Because if she came in the door, this is a woman, by the way. If she came in the door and I was just chilling, she'd be pissed off. Oh, I've been at work all day. Look at this motherfucker. But as long as I just had a fucking dish in my hand, like comically just at the sink holding up a dish, like looking at her then she's completely fine. But I've had her walk through the door before and start talking to me, and I detected a tone of voice. And I said, listen, I know that's how you talk to your girlfriends at work. I know that's how you talk to your female coworkers. You can't talk to me that way. I'm your man. I'm not your fucking female coworker. I know you've been down at the fucking Clinique counter all day talking to them fucking cows, and the way they talk is rubbing off on you, and now you think you're going to come home and talk to me like this? No, you're not. See, I'm extremely sensitive to these things. oh, big fucking deal. Who cares? But yeah, I notice this when it happens. I'm very fucking sensitive. Same thing Thorpe's doing here. See, same exact kind of energy.
Deal with it in the moment.
Where's your
I can do
woman?
this all day long. It's like breathing to me. I saw what you did there.
Hey,
That only works with dumbos
where's
who
your
don't have
woman?
focus and attention.
Where's your woman?
Can we rewind?
Where?
Oh, was that your wife? That mind control victim that I saw on Drew's live stream? That was your wife, right? That
Stockholm
literal
Sally.
mind control
No,
victim?
Stockholm Sally.
Yeah. A
Stockholm
literal
Sally.
mind control victim.
Woman, where's your woman?
Literal.
Where is your woman?
But this is where he did pretty good for himself. Although I would arguably say this could be construed as lowbrow, below the belt tactics. But I'll play this part uninterrupted because he did make some inroads. He made some progress here. I would say that. I'll give him his props.
Where is your woman, Mr. Big Talking?
Anywhere I choose to go find her, sir.
Where?
What do you mean where? I'm from the South. I'll have a girlfriend by the end of the week. What are you talking about?
Facts, by the
Yeah,
way.
not in the cow pasture. I'm talking about where.
No, I'm from the city, buddy. I'm from the actual city, man.
Why is
Y'all
there
don't
no?
know. You don't know nothing
know-
about this down here, man.
You know
Tell
everything
him,
about
Drew.
everything, man. You
Hey,
man, you
Drew
talking
has
shit.
experienced the culture of the South. Tell him, Drew. If his motherfucker thinks I can't go have a girlfriend by the end of the week, he's never been to the South.
Okay, let me.
Or
all
a
right, let me
boyfriend.
ask you.
Or a boyfriend if that's what he fancies.
If you are such a Mac Daddy,
No, that's
you
who I have
never-
to turn down. That's who comes up to me.
Yeah,
The women I have to actually go
you're
out and get.
swimming in pussy. I get it, guys.
I didn't say that.
Where is it then?
I don't understand the point you're making, sir. If you really believe that I can't go out and get a girlfriend, that says more about you than it does me.
Why isn't there a woman there that your Mac Daddy,
'Cause I don't
boss,
want one.
super knowledge, can tell to make you a cup of fucking coffee?
What are you talking about?
Where is the woman that you can say, I would like to have a cup of coffee now, and she will make it for you? She's not there because you suck.
Oh, okay.
That's like saying,
that's the reason.
well, never mind.
Yeah, that's the reason.
Okay.
Why do you? Yeah, you tell me what the reason is.
I have my own reasons. I don't think they're any of your business.
Well, that's literally a code. You're telling me you're Mr. Mac Daddy. You're telling me
You never said that, by the way.
Uno reverse.
When did I say I was Mr. McNaddy, by the way? When did I say that?
Talking shit.
Yes, that's what I do. I've been talking shit my whole life.
Yeah.
But when did I say I'm Mr. McNaddy? See, you said that. I didn't say
the
that.
Venn diagram between talking shit and getting pussy? Zero.
Man, I've been getting pussy since I was 15 years old. I would have got it at the age of 12, but I was sheltered. I grew up in a cult. These bitches been crawling all over me my whole life, man.
Facts.
what you're talking
Where are they,
What?
dude?
What do you mean, where are they?
Where is one of these?
I'm
bitches
40 fucking 7, man.
Hey, look, if you don't believe me, that's your business. It's really none of my business
No,
if you don't believe
it's not a matter of belief. We both agree there is not a female living with you.
When did I say there was a female living with me? I don't know if you noticed where I am. I'm in a big rig. I live in a big rig.
Okay. And
When did I claim that I desired or had a woman living with me in my big rig?
Okay. So.
Yeah,
you are-
no, wait a minute. No,
Oh,
You're
okay.
no, wait. You said that I said I was a Mac Daddy. We can't move on until you admit,
He drives a Kenworth. He
sir,
drives a
that I
Kenworth.
never
It ain't a
said
Mac.
that.
It ain't a Mac.
I never
It ain't
said
been
that.
docked to no female in a minute. I'll tell
Yeah.
you that. No.
Yeah, you're right, ABT. It
When did I
hasn't.
say that?
What do you
See,
say?
you put that on me, buddy. You put that on me. And let's go back to
All
our
right, why don't you fucking relax for a
Let's
second?
go back,
It's
sir.
not
I'm as
just
calm
babbling,
as
or
a
I'm gonna
cucumber,
fucking
sir.
leave.
I don't
Shut
need
your
a grown
fucking mouth.
man
Don't
addressing
leave,
my
man.
emotional state. I'm as calm as a cucumber.
No, you're
Now,
not.
let's
You're
go
Yes,
back-
I am.
Let's
You
go
won't
back
let
to
me
the part
talk.
where I caught you
Fucking faggot.
slipping. Let's go back to the part where I caught you slipping. You know you got caught slipping.
Hey, guy, tough guy, right? You're a man.
Oh
Is that
yeah,
correct?
I'm a tough guy. Yeah, that's
Are
what
you
I
a
am.
man? Are you
Yeah,
like
I'm
a
known
man?
as a tough guy. Yeah.
Are you a man? Are you a man?
You really have nothing, sir. I'm
You
not
like-
seeing anything.
just won't let
I'm
me
seeing
talk.
nothing.
Do you believe that you are a man?
I don't understand your question. What is your premise, sir?
Would you say I'm a man?
I want to go back to when I caught you slipping and you failed to recognize me. I also want to go back to when you tried to call. You tried to say that I said I was a Mac Daddy.
And when a real man comes on, you can't let him talk.
Nobody's stopping you from talking. What are you
Yes,
talking about?
You keep talking over
No,
me.
I'm not. In
For
fact,
minutes
you
and minutes.
started to
Oh,
shout me down. You
Yep.
started the shouting down.
Yep.
So you're
Oh,
accusing me of
you
all the
wouldn't
things you do.
shut your fucking stupid mouth.
Why would I do what you tell me? That doesn't even make sense.
I didn't. It's
You
not
did.
what you tell me.
You
There was
yelled
a
at me to
natural.
shut
Oh,
up.
Jesus. Look at
Dude,
all this
anybody that wants to can rewind the live stream.
stuff. And see you. Not.
Yeah, we
not
just watched
Oh,
it.
it's right there
Oh,
for
you will-
everybody to
You
see.
will not let me talk.
Right there for everybody to see.
What a bag.
Yeah, you
Let him
hate
talk-
it when
let him
somebody
talk.
that
Let him
sounds like
talk,
you.
man.
Jesus.
He
I don't
hates
want to
it.
moderate, but I'll moderate if I have to. Let me talk for a
Just
minute.
back and forth to a conversation between men.
No, I'm
And by the way, what's wrong with And by the way, I really wanted to give, I never want to appear like I'm trying to spin things to make myself look better. Actually, Ben did not do as well as I thought he did in that little exchange. I thought My memory of it was that he did better than that. That actually was not very impressive, I must say. And uh, I mean, what the fuck, dude? Well, I mean, that's the thing is, yeah, I've explained, and as I explained earlier, well, and part of that is there's really no, I'm not going to get personal. There's no reason to get personal in that format. I'll come over here on my channel and talk about my personal life, which I've already done. The fact is, I have gotten to know certain things about me. I honestly wouldn't want to do that to a woman. I mean, I view it as it's just not something that I would want to subject another person to be honest with you. Um, that's just the way I view it. And thank God, like I say, I'm 47. Do I have to keep, I have to just all my entire life, I got to be having sex? Like, I'm just not, I feel like that's something I experienced a lot of, and I just don't see why I need to keep doing that. I just don't understand. But it's the same thing. Like I say, I'm at the truck stop and I see somebody get out of their big rig, a fellow driver, and they're walking their dog or whatever. Like, intellectually, I can recognize like they're getting something out of this, but whatever they're getting out of it, I'm just not wired for that. It's like, when he's like, "Where's your woman?" I mean, I know this is going to sound horrible, but look, watching this back, what I'm thinking watching this back is you might as well ask me, "Where's my pet?" Which wouldn't be a dog, by the way. I'm a cat person. He'd be like asking me, "Okay, you're saying basically he's saying to me, where's your piece of pussy? Why is there no piece of pussy in the truck?" But you might as well say, "Why don't you have an actual pussy," meaning a pet cat? I mean, I'm only going to ever see this as companionship. And then I would say in the context of the increasingly isolated society in American society, and way before the events of the last few years, I'm observing and I'm reading all these articles, and some of it is propaganda. Yeah, of course it is. But I'm reading all these articles about how Americans are becoming more and more and more isolated over time. And then I'm also making these connections through this live streaming where, I'm talking to people through, what I consider to be literal government servers and in the internet and, Alphabet, Google, YouTube's Hell Pit. And we're people who want to discuss certain ideas and listen to certain type of presenters are coming on to live streams. And I'm seeing that, and I'm connecting that anthropologically and sociologically in my study of humans. I'm connecting that with what I've already been told about just how isolated people have become. And then at the same time, we had this event of the last few years in which people were in many areas were de facto forced to quarantine or isolate, right? So, I mean, what are we even talking about? But meanwhile, and look, I know it sounds some kind of way. It's a little cringy to say, oh, I've discovered myself, but I do think knowledge of self and self-realization is very important, even from an Eastern, perspective. I've gotten to know myself well enough that I am an actual motherfucking hermit. Like, I don't want anything. I don't want a dog. I don't want a cat. I don't want a co-driver. I don't want a personal friend, a boyfriend, as EBT likes to point out. I don't want none of the above in this motherfucker, man. But now I'm somehow going to be, and by the way, this ties into something that I've talked about before, especially on my old podcast that nobody ever heard. When I talked about dating and relationships, that's the fact is, like it or not, a big part of how men view themselves at the level of their own self-image is based on how women view them. Well, guess what? When I was socialized as a teenager, women received me very favorably when and where I grew up. Now, if I was 11 and moved to Manhattan or Southern California with my ridiculous accent and my hick ways, maybe I'd be a completely different person. Maybe I would have become a so-called incel. The fact is, when and where I grew up, I was received very well by females. Therefore, you cannot attack me, Ben Thorpe, at the level of how. Now, the fact is, yeah, women do not receive me very well nowadays. That is very true. But I think that's happening to a lot of people. And I like to say, I don't really believe I've changed, although probably I have in some ways, but I don't think I've changed in those ways. I think that says more about society than it does about me. But so I'm not dumb enough to let these changes in society, I'm not dumb enough to let somebody point that at me and make it an individual thing when it's really more of a collective thing. What's happening, Obscenity? Yeah, exactly. But see, I mean, you're making my point, Obscenity, which I do appreciate, Obscenity. And the only reason I haven't replied to your email is I don't have anybody that I text with or talk to on the phone, and the hermit's trying to keep it that way. I don't really like just getting randomly communicated with. Damn, I thought I was on the train tracks for a second. But you are making an excellent point. Yes, exactly. What kind of woman would want an old man in a truck? I mean, seriously. And by the way, truck drivers, the fact is I have a pretty decent income. Dude, we're not viewed favorably by society. In fact, most people fucking hate truck drivers. And I do think that some of what we're seeing from Ben Thorpe here is we're not well liked, man. The general public does not like us. And these dumbass magabozo truckers can say till they're blue in the face, oh, yeah, we keep America moving. And don't these people realize when they go to the store that all came by truck? Yeah, they don't care. They think you're they look down on you for filling your fucking trailer full of goods and taking it to the local fucking the local big box store. They know that when they go to the big box store, the goods are going to be on the shelf. They understand somewhere in their brain that you did that. They don't care. They would not want their son or their daughter to become a motherfucking truck driver. I went from homeless person to driving a truck long haul. Motherfuckers who don't speak the language, who can't read and write English, come to this country and do my job. I'm literally on the side of the road in Houston right motherfucking now because a traffic jam happened and I ran out of hours. And instead of spending 2 hours to get to the truck stop that's 15 miles away, I said, fuck it. And I pulled the curtain shut and I went to sleep on the side of the road. Okay. And again, we started this by EBT talking about N-word conversation part 2. I'm the N-word in this context. It's got nothing to do with the color of my skin. It's solely based on how I choose to live, see? So Obscenity's making he's right. And meanwhile, why would I want, because Lord knows I'm not paying no woman's bills, by the way. They know when they see me, this motherfucker, he ain't breaking bread at the level of, he ain't breaking off a piece. He might have $9,000. Hey, he might have $9,000 in the travel wallet, but he's not breaking us off a piece. I didn't spend dime one on ex-wife number 2 until we'd been dating for 6 months. Not dime one. Yeah. Yeah, he might be mobbing around with $9,000, but if I'm not putting that on her and her kids that she had with some other bozo, she's not interested. And can you blame her, by the way? Can you blame her, by the way? And that's what people don't seem to understand. I actually see this more from her perspective than I do from my perspective. Because, I had my fun back in the day. The fact that other guys are not having their fun nowadays necessarily, that ain't my problem. The fact that other guys, that some guys did not have their fun when they were in their 20s, that is not my problem. Now, the one advice I will ever give to a young guy, I'll say, get as much pussy as possible. Because that's really the only thing you're going to regret is if you get to the end of your 20s and you didn't get a bunch of puss, that you will regret that. But meanwhile, we've talked about the war on testosterone. With the hormone levels of these guys, I don't even know that they'll regret it, honestly.
Not going to be explained to what a conversation is. That's ridiculous.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm
yes,
not.
you are.
No.
Yes, you are. Right now.
No.
Shut your fucking mouth.
You're literally condescending me to explain what a conversation is. I will talk anytime I want to talk. EBT came on my stream and said the N-word 100 times to a literal black woman.
Yeah, how's he going to talk about? Let's go back. EBT's talking about he will moderate. I'm like, what are you talking about? But what he's saying is he's going to moderate my behavior. I'm like, what?
Let him talk, Ben. I don't want to moderate, but I'll moderate if I have to. Let him talk for a minute.
Just back and forth to a conversation between men.
No, I'm not going to be explained to what a conversation is. That's ridiculous.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm
yes,
not.
you are. Yes,
No,
you are. Right now.
No.
Shut your fucking mouth.
You're literally condescending me to explain what a conversation is. I will talk anytime I want to talk. EBT came on my stream and said the N-word 100 times to a literal black woman. and now he's talking about moderating me. I let you express yourself, EBT, and now you're going to drop me off of your live stream? That is some weak ass bullshit.
I'm not censoring nobody.
Yeah. You threatening to moderate me?
Yes,
Come
he
on,
is.
man.
Moderate, not censor.
Well, I don't need to be moderated, and I don't need some
Yeah, you do.
bozo
That's why you're
in a
living in a fucking
pastel
truck,
shirt
retard.
explaining to me how to have a conversation. That is
That's
ridiculous.
why you're living in a truck.
That
and
is
there's no woman
ridiculous
with
on its
you
face.
Don't know how to discipline yourself.
I know how to do all kind of things that you will never.
You know how to jerk off. That's what you know how to do.
Wow, this is amazing. What's
It is-
even more
it is
amazing
amazing.
is there's a bunch of people who know me pretty well from listening to me talk at length.
Oh, and I don't want to get too personal, but that, not that it in any way, I don't consider it in any way an insult, masturbation. I think that ship has sailed, but it's not a big part of my life. I'll just go ahead and put that out there. It's really not. Hasn't
They
been for
understand
quite
that
some
you
time.
have no fucking idea what you're talking about.
Well,
A lot of them are watching
funnier
right
if you know who
Why don't we have a
it is.
conversation instead of you talking about how you know
I don't know.
everything?
Is that going to be when you explain to me how a conversation works?
Now, and me talking about how I know everything. Well, no, I come across as a know-it-all. It's my personality, and I do know a lot. I certainly don't know everything. Meanwhile, he's free to make valid points, but strategically, he doesn't want to put forward an idea and have to own the idea. And see, this is what tinfoil does. He very nearly refuses to ever make a point and just own it. That, you notice Thorpe's done that. He had every opportunity to rebut my earlier points by constructing his own ideas and putting them forward. He doesn't want to do that. I'm assuming he views that as a strategic disadvantage. See, I'm actually operating off the back foot in a lot of ways, but I'm overcoming it with my aggressiveness and my the fact that I've thought these ideas through ahead of time for the most part.
Of a fucking freezer
Is
truck.
that going to
Talking
involve
about
you
how you're gonna
explaining
get
to me
laid
what a
when there's
conversation?
No woman who would come within 20 miles of
Hey,
that.
the fact is, I've observed many feminine characteristics within you already, sir. And I caught you
That
in the
mom
middle of
energy.
trying to do one to
That
me.
mom energy.
Oh, and by the way, that's a good point, Woody. And the fact is, I'm not going to attack him on that basis, but I will tell you the fact that my whole life, I've pretty much just done whatever the fuck I wanted to do. That a lot of these people with families and kids, they actually get jealous because I'm out here doing whatever I want. And, I used to internalize that. And then finally, because again, I'm not that smart, but eventually I had an epiphany. I'm like, wait a minute. Society promotes this idea that, the most fulfilling thing to do is to have kids, right? And so I said, actually, instead of these people treating me like they're jealous of me, they should feel bad for me, because if that's like this great rewarding thing and I've never experienced it and I'm never going to experience it, why don't they feel bad for me? Nobody ever approaches it like, wow. And I'm literally the only person in my entire family. That means nuclear family, extended family. I'm literally the only person without children. There's nobody else. So these same people, some of which are my own family, who will get jealous that I don't, because I get to do whatever in the fuck I want. Of course, some of that is just I've just always been that way. But the fact is, if I ever had kids, I would be responsible because I'm a responsible person. But in fact, instead of jealousy, it's also a subtle, I'm subtly pushing back on them, and I'm almost like acknowledging that, well, actually, this thing that y'all want to say is so rewarding, it's probably really not. Or, yeah, it is. It's really extremely rewarding, but it's also really fucking horrible and nightmarish at the same time, which that's like a microcosm for life, right? Or a macrocosm. I'm not sure if I'm using those terms correctly, but I mean, isn't that what that is? It's like, it's wonderful and fucking horrible all at the same time. Well, but then if it's truly so wonderful and fulfilling, why don't y'all feel bad for me? Because I'm literally the only motherfucker who's not ever going to experience it.
Yep.
Yeah, here's
That's
one.
right.
Shut your fucking mouth, faggot.
Call me whatever.
And
you want to
name
call me.
calling.
What do you think? You think I care about that?
Name calling.
Yeah, I do think you do. Because you keep spurting out and talking.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Spurging. Yeah, I'm spurging.
Let me finish my fucking sentence. You're like an overgrown.
Hey, you
teenager.
started
Making
out
a lot of
down there.
sense.
Well,
You shouted me down, sir. You're the one who came out of the gate with the bullshit tactics, and now you want to whine and cry when I do the bullshit
I'll
tactics.
mute myself.
Hey, if you can't
do your
handle it,
fucking
that's not my
stupid
problem,
speech.
partner.
Do your
If
speech.
you can't take the heat, get out the kitchen. Yeah, exactly.
One at a time, gentlemen. Ben muted himself.
Now he's got nothing to say.
Hollywood Ben finally
I'm
met his
talking.
match or what?
I don't know.
He don't have the horsepower for this. You're not equipped for this battle.
Go
sir.
ahead, do your fucking speech, and then let me know.
He didn't
when
like
I'm
that.
Go ahead.
Well, I know this. Whatever you tell me to do will never happen. So if you want to accomplish something, I would recommend reverse psychology. You might want to order me to do the opposite of what you want me to actually do. Because telling me what to do will never result in me doing that thing. So yeah. So I would go reverse psychology if I was
Okay,
here's what I've noticed. When you can stop and start, and look, I will brag on myself a little bit. When somebody can actually go like I'm going, that's not that unusual for somebody to be able to open their mouth and rapidly, and this is 1.25x, by the way, but you know, that's not that unusual. The unusual part is that I can stop, listen, then do it again. That's what I don't see very much of. So I will pat myself on the back in that regard.
The reverse psychology. Don't
so tell me the
like a
opposite.
fucking faggot all the time.
It's not an act.
Reverse psychology.
It's not an act. This is truly who I am, sir. I'm not acting. Yeah. You got the raw, unadulterated Benton in the house. And that's why they love me in these YouTube streets, by the way. Because I'm me all the time. I don't know who you are, but it ain't authentic. And it does not ring true.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's another
Ouch.
Benjamin, the floor is yours. The floor is yours, Benjamin.
Hell, you won't let me finish the sentence. He's not letting me finish one.
I'll moderate. I'll moderate.
No, you don't have to moderate.
Okay,
I can beat this bitch down myself.
Get him.
Well,
That's a good point, Woody.
That I'm one of the best listeners you will ever see. Oh, I'm literally one of the best listeners on here. That's a fact.
You are literally the worst listener I've ever encountered in my life. You don't listen.
Well, number one, that cannot possibly be true because you live with grace. So that there's no way that's true.
My turn.
Go ahead. The floor is yours, Ben. Yep.
I'm happy to pick up on that. I don't know what that means, but
you do. You do know what that means.
Oh, wait a minute. Nobody asked for your advice. Who asked for your advice, sir? Unasked for advice is aggression.
Ben.
Unsolicited advice is aggression.
Ben, the floor is Benjamin's at the moment.
Are you going to shut your fucking mouth while I talk?
Not if you start your sentence with, here's some advice. No.
All right. Well, you can fuck their stream up.
Well, EBT already fucked mine up, so I guess that's just fair play.
Okay.
Never wrestle a pig. You both get money and the pig likes it. I can do this shit all day long.
Hey,
baby.
we're doing Westminster
and
debate,
twice on Sunday.
Standards here, okay, Ben? You got to shut up and let Benjamin have the floor for a minute.
Everyone knows that a douchebag like you can do this all day long because you have nothing going on and you have no relationships in your life and you live in the back of a truck.
I didn't mean that I have time to do it all day. In fact, that's not the case at all. I worked all but 2 days last month, sir. And that's provable through DOT logs, for God's sakes. No, I don't mean I have time. I mean, I have the ability. You just happen to show up when I actually also have the time because I ran out of time on my DOT hours of service. I ran out of time in a traffic jam on the side of the road. That's where I still am, by the way.
So that is not impressive that a spurg like you can spurg all day long.
But why would that be impressive? I don't understand your premise
You
here.
seem to think it's impressive.
Brother, you're on the internet talking to me. Think about that.
Okay,
I mean, you're right here talking to me on the internet. I think that says more about you than it does about me. These people know exactly what I am.
No, you're making a really
What are
compelling
you
point.
doing? That's the
You're
question.
making a compelling point.
I know I am.
Yeah.
Because that's all I do. That's why people listen to me talk for hours by myself. Hours and hours and hours of making long form points.
Oh,
Because all I do is make
Okay.
Then you take the stream over. Fuck.
Let me just drop that people listen to Ben.
By the way, if y'all have ever heard me say that I can come on, this is part of the reason I don't like to do panels, is because I'm absolutely capable of clearing the fucking room and coming on and just dominating the entire conversation. I'm absolutely able to do that. I don't particularly enjoy it. I think it worked out for the audience in this case. Overall, I don't think it's that great of a thing. I tend not to do that, but I've said from day one, I can come on here and just take everything over and dominate it. I can do that too. I don't personally view that as any great fucking accomplishment, but yeah, I can absolutely. I know I can come on there and just dominate every fucking time. So what? That shit gets old, man. In fact, this is probably the only time I've ever done that.
And talk for hours as well.
No, I'm talking about me.
I'm talking about Ben.
Solo. He goes on and talks solo for hours.
Yeah, see, I'm still not believing this without some proof. Should we go to his channel? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I owe him an apology. I was not aware of Maybe he does. I don't know what he talks about.
About what?
Whatever the fuck they're talking about. What the fuck are you talking about?
I don't watch them, so I wouldn't know.
I'm just saying. I'm just being a neutral moderator.
All right, EBT, don't catch some friendly fire now. I'm all keyed up.
Why would you do that?
He's trying to tell you to act like a reasonable person. And
Yeah, I
stop
don't allow
acting.
people to dictate my behavior, so it
Right,
really
then he
doesn't
should
matter
tell
what
you to
he's
get the
trying to
fuck
tell me
out of here.
I don't
And
think
everybody in society tell you
I don't
you're
think
a
either of
loser.
you are.
See, this is my opinion, and EBT is about to make a good point. He said, I don't think either one of you are reasonable people. Exactly. I never claimed that, but, you know, yeah, exactly. Who among us are reasonable people? Probably Drew. I mean, might be the closest thing to a reasonable person.
Reasonable people.
Yeah, I never claimed to be.
Okay.
But I don't know why. But here's the thing: is I'm not lecturing people on their behavior. I got somebody literally.
I mean, let's be honest. You kind of are though. Benton.
How do you figure that?
Then you suck as a human being.
Okay,
That's an
well,
opinion.
That's
That's your
might
opinion.
be a little
You
far.
suck.
That's your opinion.
No, it's not my opinion. It is the
Yes, it
truth.
is.
Look around. Look around, buddy. This is where people end up who suck as human beings.
Again, you're right here talking to me.
We're all right.
Yeah. You're right here talking
Live
to me.
in the
sir.
back of a fucking truck. There is no woman or
Yeah, you can't threaten a hermit with a good time at the level of living in a truck, man. It's a free fucking apartment. I'm happy that I ran out of time in the middle of a goddamn. I'm happy that I ran out of time in a traffic jam, and I'm happy that my dispatcher got so busy she failed to call me back yesterday and inform me that I can actually go pick up this load that I was going to pick up yesterday, right? And I'm just going to ignore her texts, and I'm probably just going to most likely take the weekend off, right? Or I might just deadhead back to Fort Worth if I feel like it. And if the company tries to say, well, you're not supposed to do that, I'll just say take it out of my check, because they've got it. It's in the employee handbook. They call it like out of route. It's like, I don't know, it's a certain number of cents per mile. I think it's like 50 cents a mile. I'll just be like, take that shit out of my check then. What do you? And then, by the way, they'll still want me to pick the load up. So all of this will happen, and they'll still expect me to run my next load. Yeah, that's truck driving is fucked, y'all. Fucked. There's a reason why they got to bring people who don't speak the language. I mean, what kind of person would do this job? So, I mean, he kind of has a point in that I am choosing to work in a fucking very bad industry that, people can talk about all they want about moving America and all this shit. It's a bunch of nonsense. People hate truck drivers. They hate trucks. I do too. I hate getting behind trucks if I'm driving a personal vehicle. It sucks.
family to support you and give
You don't
a shit
know
about
anything about my family.
You died in the back of your fucking truck. Only the smell.
Yeah, I'm dying, Ben. Yeah, that's may very well be what happened, sir. I don't see that as a bad outcome personally. If I died in the back of this, see, and I think he's also, I didn't notice this in the moment, but I think he's tapping into some. Well, let's. My apologies. I pause too much sometimes.
That emanated from the
Family.
You died. There is no woman or family to support you and give
You don't
a shit
know
about.
anything about my family.
You died in the back of your fucking truck. Only the smell that emanated from the truck from your rotting corpse would alert anyone that anything has gone wrong with you. Nobody fucking cares.
That's completely not true, sir. Lots of people care.
No, they watch you.
Yeah, they do. Lots of people care about me. That's a fact. This Karmic Life, welcome. Have not seen that name before, although you may have showed up and I was driving and I can't. Sometimes my vision is too bad, but I wouldn't say I don't get paid heaps in that. I don't think people, they probably think I make more than I do, but on average, I make $1,100 per week after taxes. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. Probably about $1,200 actually. I probably make, and I worked all but 2 days last week, so it's a grind, man. But I showed the fiat earlier. Hang on. Oh, you're good. Yeah. What's up, Stephen Crumley? Let's get into this. And I'm gonna lose. I want to get done with this Thorpe stuff because I'm kind of over it already. But yeah, that's what I'm all about. I do this job, number one, so that I can live in the big rig. So I literally live in the truck, and this is the number two reason I do it, because I want to stack some cash. And I'm 10 G's liquid. And listen to this, y'all. I was sick as a dog. Stayed in a motel until I got well enough, and then I literally pitched a tent for like a whole week in the fucking Arkansas summer, panhandling for money. And now a few months later, I'm 10 G's liquid living in a truck. So yeah, you can look down on that. And where Ben Thorpe is from, I think he's probably from Southern California, although I've never gotten confirmation on that. Yeah, he would look down on somebody like me. But when you come from Southeast Arkansas, from Jefferson County, and it was noted as the most economically depressed county in the country when I was a teenager, you don't look down on 10 G's liquid. You don't look down on, by the way, the working man working a blue collar job. See, we don't look down on that, Ben Thorpe. Now, I am grandstanding a little bit. And honestly, I don't think it's any great thing for a man to go do a day's work. In fact, that used to just be just what a man did. Okay. Used to just be what a man did, is he fucking went to work. Meanwhile, when was the last time Ben Thorpe did a day's work? Has Ben Thorpe ever done a day's work? Stephen Crumley, my pops just sold his shop and everything yesterday. He has owned a trucking company since 82. He echoes Benton's facts about truck driving in 2023. He's 72. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I like having a little bit of backup on that. Thank you. But yeah, if somebody is actually capable of not having a life, and I don't have, and Ben is right about one thing. I don't have what other people would consider a life. Now, I think where he's not understanding is that I don't value those things for myself, but I recognize the success of people like EBT and Drew, who actually have these lives and these families and these, presumably rewarding experiences. And the fact that EBT can basically not sleep. And this is probably why some people do think he's a government agent, because the man, he gets drunk and apparently hardly ever sleeps, and then is able to go work a day's work every day. But I believe he's doing those things. Most isolated city in the world. Really? Is that true? Wow. Perth.
You're an idiot and a jackass, and it's interesting to watch someone act like this on YouTube. You're a lol cow.
No, I wasn't. I certainly
The
wasn't.
irony is thick. The irony is thick.
Yeah, EBT said the
Well, he
irony
is projecting, but the fact is, what's funny is when somebody
now
says
we're
all
doing
these things,
psychology, right?
that cannot. Hey, I understand psychology at least as well as you do.
You,
Probably
you know everything about everything.
Yeah,
That's
never
why
said I knew
ladies-
everything. See, you
Ben's
go
an
to the false
amateur
premise.
Yes, there's lots of things I don't know about. Lots of things I know almost nothing about. But the things I do know about, I tend to know a whole lot about them. Yippee skippy, yay for Benton.
You go to the ridicule and the false premises immediately, as if we're not going to notice the ridicule and the false premises.
Hey Benton, are we having a good time? Honestly.
I always have a good time. Why would I not?
Okay, that's a jerk off thing to say. You obviously don't have a good time a lot of times. Once you click off YouTube, you look around the walls of your interior of your truck body, and you are not having.
By the way, look at this weird gaslighting he's doing here. I would never talk to somebody like this. This is just bizarre.
A good time.
You don't know anything about that, sir. You know
Well,
nothing about
Okay,
that.
you have a good time when you're jerking off, and then it becomes kind of a sad time.
Actually, I almost never do that. Just not any of your business, but that almost never happens, actually.
Well, let's say the few little times where it does happen, that's what it feels like, kind of empty and lonely because.
Well, at my age, I do have to operate the equipment on occasion. Otherwise, the old prostate starts to flare
true.
up.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, okay. You do not.
You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking
Well, and if Ben Thorpe knew anything about Eastern philosophy and religion, in fact, I believe it's the Vedics who they prescribe a certain number of times per month that a male should ejaculate based on his age. And at my age, I think it's probably around 6 times. It's like 4 to 6 times a month. And that's solely based on keeping the organs in proper working order, sir. So, yeah, that is a real thing, by the way.
about. A little enlarged prostate action. I think you know a little bit about that.
I do not know or care about your
course
prostate,
you do.
and it's actually.
No, I'm talking about yours. Yeah,
I would
know what
prefer
I'm
not
talking
to talk-
about.
For you to talk about my prostate gland, but
You're addressing every aspect of my life,
You
sir.
have
It's like
daddy
it would be
issues.
fair game.
That's funny.
hey Ben,
You're addressing every aspect
So
of.
now he's trying to say I have daddy issues. See, I missed that. See, the thing is, I'm talking so much, I didn't realize that he actually said I have daddy issues. Wow. I mean, and you do realize I'm not actually gay, right? Like, as far as that's why would I be offended by somebody calling me that term? Like, Dude, I come from such a repressive society and culture. Like, it's not even a thing, man. Like, we had literal gay bashing. Like, literal gay bashing. Dude, there's no, it effectively did not exist when and where I grew up. There's a lot of repression involved around these topics. So yeah, now he's just assuming, by the way, this is psychology, since I study psychology. You know, the notion in psychology is that most gay men did not have a relationship with their father, and if they did, it wasn't a good relationship. Well, my father's a classical narcissist, but the reality is my dad made a good living and raised me in a home with my mother, and he came home every night, and he never abused me other than by raising me in a mind control cult. Yeah, that was abusive, of course, but the fact is, probably solely based on my need to view myself as a good person, I have a good relationship with my father, without question, absolutely, and my mother, by the way. And again, maybe later we'll play audio of me. In fact, did a podcast episode with my mom, and it was very well received, by the way. In fact, Drew used to have it on his channel. I don't think it's on there anymore, but at one time it was actually on Drew's channel.
My life, sir. It seems like yours would also be fair game.
Okay. Let me ask you.
Back up here.
You're addressing every aspect of my life, sir. It seems like it would be fair game.
Hey, Ben,
You're
I didn't hear the
addressing
daddy
every
issues.
aspect of my life, sir. It seems like yours would also be fair game.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. How's your relationship with your father?
It's excellent. Thank you for asking.
No, it is not.
Absolutely, it is. Yes, it is. So you have no fucking idea what you're talking about.
So he's like,
I have excellent relationships with both of my parents, sir. So you're projecting things from society onto me. But guess what? I'm one of one, baby. None of that shit applies to me.
Okay, you're unique in the world.
I know I am.
You're
I'm one of one. There's never going to be another one of me.
They broke the mold.
They did.
Yeah. Right. And there's never going to be one that follows from you.
So that's why when you start talking about my father and just assume that I don't have a father in my life, you're wrong. We have an excellent relationship.
So, okay, let me follow up on that. I'm saying that could be true.
Why?
Okay?
But why? Are you my psychiatrist all of a sudden?
Okay.
See, I would just take if for some insane reason I wanted to ask about your father, which I never would. If for some insane reason I would want to ask about your father, which I never would, I would take your word for it. I wouldn't feel the need to probe deeper.
You can't just take my word for it.
This is really, it's a mental sickness is what it is. It's a literal mental sickness.
Are you done?
I don't know. Are you going to accept the truth that I have a good relationship with my dad, or are you going to attempt to ask a bunch of questions about it?
Well, you answered a question about it, and I would like.
I answered one question. That's correct. Why do I need to answer more questions?
You don't. You can sit there and act like a retard. Go ahead.
It's not an act. I am a retard.
I think we finally found common ground.
Do you think I don't know that? I mean, you're talking as if you're giving me new information. I think that's what I find most annoying here.
I mean, are you a serious human being, or just like your
well, see,
own that
if
you
I could,
are like a total?
Here's the thing: is if I could bring myself to care about you enough, that's what I would probably ask you. But I literally can't bring myself to ask that.
I'm kind of curious. What was Drew doing right before he dropped off?
See, if I could, here's the thing: is if I could bring myself to care about you enough, that's what I would probably ask you.
Huh.
But I literally can't bring myself to ask that.
Okay, but like what I'm saying is, no one cares. Your speeches aren't funny. You're not really hitting it. You're not nailing it.
I'm doing fine, man. I'm doing just fine.
Yeah, I'm doing just fine.
Yes, absolutely, I am.
No.
Yes. And you cannot convince me otherwise because I know the reality.
Right.
Yes.
That's called being a retard. Someone who
you don't know anything about these conspiracy streets, and you don't know anything about nightmaredystopia.com.
Oh, man, I know the streets, man.
Conspiracy
streets. Yeah,
you don't.
I know all about them. It's filled.
You don't know anything about
these
it.
Streets are filled with retards who live in the back of trucks.
No, you don't know.
And no family and no female companionship, and they know shit, man.
Do you really
research, man?
Female companionship. If I wanted female companionship, I mean that's a non-fucking starter, man. Right. It's a non-starter.
Okay, so you think that a normal?
No, it's a fact.
No, okay, you're not gonna let me finish my sentence. So finish all your sentences and let me fucking know when you're done.
Well, what I would do is probably don't come directly at me with an attack, and I will probably be able to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah, aggression begets aggression. And let's not forget, I started all of this by attempting to help him.
Finish with what, sir?
Whenever I'm talking, you talk over me. When I'm not talking, you have
no. Yeah, that's probably because you started out by talking over me. See, when you start out talking over me, it's now okay for me to talk over you.
What a fucking bozo.
This is called a taste of your own medicine, by the way.
It is not. A taste
course
of
it is.
your own medicine. If I was to taste your medicine, I would be a lonely loser talking about conspiracies in the back of a fucking truck. And I am not going to taste that.
By the way, that's literally what Ben Thorpe thinks about the so-called truth community. What he just said, this is the realest he's been, in my view. This is probably the realest thing he's ever said online. Listen to this.
Talking about conspiracies. If I was to taste your medicine, I would be a lonely loser talking about conspiracies in the back of a fucking truck.
That's what he thinks of us, meaning the people who comprise the so-called truth community, including EBT, by the way, and including Drew. That's what he thinks of us. Losers. Yeah, who talk about conspiracy theories.
And I am not going to taste that medicine ever.
Yeah, that's my
because
point. You don't know anything about conspiracy, man. Nothing.
Right. I
Zero.
know. I know lots about them.
You believe
you're
the
making
government story of these things.
All someone needs to know about conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
What they take, what do you call it? Your red pill?
I've never used the term.
Yeah. By the way, there's people on here right now who've heard me talk for literally hours at a time. Have I ever uttered the phrase red pill even one time?
I've never used that term one time in my life. I've never used the term red pill one time in my life. You're showing yourself as a fool, sir.
Yep. He showed
on the conspiracy streets, right?
You know nothing.
You the man on a conspiracy.
No, I didn't say that. I said you don't know anything about it.
Yeah, okay.
You literally don't.
Yeah, Ben, see, this is a point I had to make with my dad, and I guess Ben is a covert narcissist. This is a point I had to make with my dad because my dad is he does these things very in a non-threatening type of way, but my father basically strongly implied to me once that, I more or less was trying to brag about a certain level of spiritual attainment, but then he's also internalizing it because to the narcissist, everything exists only in relation to them. So the fact that I would even speak on like meditation or some sort of spiritual practice, my dad is going to interpret that as that's a slight on him in some way. And I said, and then he will also kind of imply kind of what Ben Thorpe does here. He'll kind of then try to blow up the idea to make it appear ridiculous as if I'm now behaving as if I'm some kind of ascended master. And I finally just told him, I said, man, listen, if I'm at a 1 out of 10 and you're at a 0, you can't divide by motherfucking 0, man. I don't have to be high level to be way fucking better than you if you've never done day 1 of any kind of spiritual work. You see, same thing with Thorpe here in the conspiracy streets. He's using the exact same tactic. He's trying to imply that, oh, well, you're trying to say that you're some fucking big shot, big deal in the conspiracy streets. And I'm like, no. What I'm saying is if I'm at a 1 out of 10 and you're at a 0, mathematically, you can't divide by a motherfucking 0, Jack. You can't even mathematically measure that distance between the 0 and the 1 in that instance. Like, seriously, that's how mathematics works. You cannot divide by 0. So, yeah, mathematically I am. Compared to him, I'm infinitely fucking on top. But I am on the side of the road. I may have to wrap this up pretty soon because at some point the cops are going to come knocking.
Okay, Ben, you believe the official story of 9/11, sir. You literally believe the official story of 9/11.
If you want to do this, talk to this fucking loser. I'm out of here. Bye.
Yeah, he literally believes the.
I hit him with the ridicule and he left. See, I don't hardly ever go to ridicule. I finally hit him with the ridicule and he left. It's kind of a long story, but that's some bozo that EBT's fascinated with, and also Chalk Body Outline is fascinated with to a lesser extent. And the only reason I even know about that bozo is because Drew had him on, and Drew started doing lives. He started referencing the Thorpes, and it's gotten to be kind of almost like a meme in some of these conspiracy, in some of these truther streets. It's gotten to be kind of a meme, and I actually, if you can rewind it if you want to see the whole thing. I'm not even sure I could summarize it at this point. But yeah, it's a whole thing. There you go. Yeah, that's a good word. And then I went into a bunch of game theory with respect to male-female relationships on this stream. So I guess it's there if anybody wants to check it out. I'm probably here shortly. I'm going to peace out and go get off the side of the road and go cruise over to the truck stop. Hey, Razvan, what's happening, brother? This was actually on EBT's channel. It's still on there, actually. I'm playing it from, it's called Inward 2.0. And in fact, let's go back and watch EBT. Well, I can't on this stream, but I'm going to keep this one up. So what I may do, if anybody wants to come back later, I'll probably end this, and then I'm going to go. I need to go to Walmart, but I might not. I might blow it off, but I'll probably wait for that. But I need to at least get off the side of the road. I ran out of time in a traffic jam, Razvan, and I slept on the fucking side of the road since Razvan's a fellow trucker here. And yeah, you can rewind this stream also. I had a head-to-head with this Ben Thorpe, and I pieced him up pretty good. That's why the title of the video is talking about scalps, collecting scalps. I added a scalp to the wall there, not a notch to the old staff, but and it was relatively easy, I would have to say. And in fact, I did way better than I realized. In the moment, I believed I was actually faltering for momentarily, but actually it wasn't. I did better than I thought I did overall. And I cleared the room. Well, let's go ahead and play it out because I do like what I said to EBT here at the end, because it does get awkward. See, that's one thing about being autistic, and this is why, by the way, EBT JG, shout out to JG. He doesn't seem to like it when I self-diagnose autistic, but see, one thing about being autistic is the shit gets weird and awkward, but I don't process it. I understand that the shit's weird and awkward. I just don't care, and I don't process the weirdness and the awkwardness. So this is awkward as fuck right here. Like it's just me and EBT. It is awkward as fuck. But it doesn't matter to me.
Official story of 9/11. I didn't come into Chalk Body Outline Discord to talk to bozos who out of their own mouth say they believe the official story of 9/11. That is some weak ass bullshit.
Shout out to Benjamin Thorpe, aka Abel. Shout out to Chalk Body Outline. Shout out to my boy Benton. Shout out to my boy Tinfoil Straight Jacket. Shout out to my boy Master Control Unit. Shout out to my boy TK and anybody else that was in here. But I think we're going to call it a wrap.
Hey, bring them back anytime. I'll clear the room again.
Benton, go ahead and start your stream up now. Go ahead and continue if you want. But I think I'm going to check out for now. That was enough drama for me for now. So
thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.